Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, do you remember when I did, what did I do? I did those Colleen Hoover books like last year. Maybe someday, maybe not. This is the third in the sequel, the third in the series called Maybe Now. Who asked for this? Dunno, mate. Remember to like, comment and subscribe. Remember to like, dislike, comment for the engagement, subscribe, resubscribe. What else? I've started doing channel memberships now, so check them out below if you'd like some some of that behind the scenes. Shall we just get on with it? Okay. You are not going to believe what game I play. I can barely believe it myself. This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Wait to the end to get a lucrative reward. Raid Shadow Legends is literally the best game I have ever played. I play it all the time. I'm playing it right now with my mind. It has over 4 million users and 250 million downloads. There's over 800 champions, 16 factions, 1 million plus builds and 30 plus bosses. With constant monthly updates and really high reviews. Why haven't you downloaded it already? How many times must I teach you this lesson, old audience? You can play with friends and family and make your own clans. Okay guys, so this is insane. Please hear me out as I really think you're going to like this. What if I told you that not only will you be given a free legendary and 2 strong epic heroes using my code, you can also win a free gaming console. You heard that right, a free gaming console. And if that is not enough, like, you already had me at a free legendary champion, but if the gaming console isn't enough, there will also be Amazon gift cards with a total value of $10,000. That'll get you at least 5 Freddos in the UK. So what do you have to do to win? It's simple. Raid Shadow Legends, yes, they are my sponsor. We're back together. We've got like the will they, won't they, Ross and Rachel.
We were on a break!
Elliot and JD thing going on. They are celebrating the arrival of spring in Teleria. Where is that? With a special spring hunt minigame. Let's say that 10 times too fast. Spring hunt. Spring hunt. Simply download Raid using the link in my description, then head to springhunt.plarium.com, enter your Raid ID and join the competition. On top, Raid is also celebrating community weeks dedicated to Raid players. Like me, biggest Raid player going. Really love participating in the spring hunt. Since they know that people love free stuff, they are giving everyone a legendary champion, Chronicler Adeline. She's amazing at placing valuable debuffs while bypassing the blocks debuffs, so build her with plenty of accuracy. See, how would I know that if I didn't play Raid? The Spring Hunt minigame event is starting from April 15th to May 30th. I'm cutting it a bit close with this, aren't I? Players will need to find hidden items around the Mistwood. Simply download Raid using my link or the QR code around the screen, using the magic of how do QR codes work? I don't get it. Then head to springhunt.plarium.com, enter your ID and start searching for the missing items. So if you haven't started playing yet, then what are you waiting for? Click the link in my description or scan the QR code to get insane bonuses only available via my link. You'll immediately get a huge starter pack with epic champion Tayrul from the High Elves faction. You'll also get another starter pack after reaching level 25. That includes epic Rector Draff. Epic Rector Draff. Don't say that 10 times too fast. Don't forget, all of these champions are available after downloading via my custom link or QR code only. If you go directly to the App Store, you will miss out on all of that, and wouldn't that be a crying shame? After downloading the game via my link, use the promo code SPRINGHUNT24 to get silver and more. It's available for both new and existing players. So just come find me under the name Alizee and join my clan, Alizee Simps. And we'll all be legends together. Just hit the link in my description and I'll see you on the battlefield. Thank you, Raid Shadow Legends, for sponsoring today's video. Mwah. Prologue. Maggie. Do you remember her? The one who was cheated on in Maybe Someday? Right, well, Maggie is signing up to skydive and this instructor called Jake is talking to her. Any medical conditions, he asks, already pressing his pen to the box marked no. I don't answer him. My silence prompts him to look up at me. I feel like it's so echoey in here. That is so annoying. I think it's just me. Should I just put on some headphones? Oh. My silence prompts him to look up at me and repeat his question. Medical conditions? Recent illnesses? Any crazy ex-boyfriends I should be aware of? I smile at his last comment and shake my head. No crazy exes. Just one really great one. The guy who cheated on you. Okay. Sure. Also, yes, it's 10 p.m. Yes, I'm drinking a cup of tea. Yes, I'm in a new building. We're in a new building, filming at nighttime. Nature is healing. Maggie tells him that she has cystic fibrosis and he's like, okay, whatever. Didn't ask for your life story, mate. They're in a plane and Maggie is attempting to flirt with him. He's really going to make me repeat myself. I asked if your wife gets upset that you're so busy all the time. He shakes his head and unbuckles his safety harness, then moves to the seat next to me. It's too loud in here, he yells, waving his hand around the interior of the airplane. Say it one more time. I roll my eyes and begin to ask him, does your wife? He laughs and presses a finger to my lips, but only briefly. He pulls his hand away and leans towards me. My heart reacts more to this quick movement of his than it does to the fact that I'm about to jump out of this airplane. Who are these men that are always just touching women they've barely met? I squeeze my eyes shut again just as he brings his mouth close to my ear. I don't have a wife, Maggie. The only thing I'm in love with is my life. And, obviously, himself. If we make it to the ground alive, will you let me take you to dinner to celebrate being my 500th time? I laugh at the sexual undertone in his question and look over my shoulder. Are tandem instructors allowed to date their students? That has never stopped a co-home man before. Chapter 1. No, they jump. Then it's chapter 1. Sydney. Ugh. It's the day straight after the concert at the end of the first book. Coho was scared that we would miss... No, I didn't finish that. It's a good one. Look, I've been through it recently. Leave me alone if I don't go back and re-edit my own scripts. That's the job of someone else now, actually. Maybe that's where this new sense of peace comes from. The absence of all the guilt I've always felt in his presence. It was hard falling in love with someone who was committed to someone else. It was even harder trying to prevent it from happening. Oh, poor you. What a hard, sad life. When I open the door to the living room, he's there, seated at the table with a notebook and my laptop. I lean against the door frame and watch him for a while. I'm not sure how he feels about it, but I love that I can watch him unabashedly without him hearing me enter the room. I'm not sure how I feel about that, other than the obligatory reactionary "shut up, Sydney, you freak" knee-jerk. He pulls a frustrated hand through his hair at one point, and I can tell by the stiffness of his shoulders that he's stressed. Work stuff, I assume. Wow, Mystic Meg psychic alert. He kisses me, then pulls away and heads to the table. He grabs his phone and texts me. Ridge, I have a ton of work to catch up on today and I really need my own laptop. I'm going to head back to my apartment so you can get ready for work. Want me to come over tonight? Sydney, I can drive by your place on the way home from work. I'll just stop by on my way home. Why is it suddenly third person? We know it's Sydney texting. Like, who else would it be that's replying to his text message? We can infer that from the context, Hoover. Ridge feels conflicted about feeling good with Sydney because of the tiny issue of them being cheaters together. I reach my hand up and smooth it out, then cup his face. Don't feel guilty. Everyone wants you to be happy, Ridge. Especially Maggie. Okay.
Doubt.
Coconut milk and 2 sugars, in case you're wondering. In case any of you ever see me out in the wild and you want to get me a cup of coffee. No, tea. This all feels so surreal, him actually being here with me after so many months of wishing it could be this way. And he's right. It felt so stifling being apart from him, yet it feels liberating now he's here. And I know he isn't saying all of what he just said because he felt like his life with Maggie was in any way something he didn't want. He loved her, loves her. What he's feeling is the result of spending an entire life making decisions that were in the best interest of others and not himself. And I don't think he regrets any of it. It's just who he... Oh my God, who the hell cares? It's just who he is. And even though I was a selfish decision he finally made for himself, I know he's still the same selfless person he's always been. So there's going to be some residual guilt there. But people need to put themselves first sometimes. Or you could just talk to your partners and dump them. People need to put themselves first sometimes. If you aren't living your best life for yourself, you can't be your best self for those in your life. That really is some justifying, isn't it? You know, if you really felt like you shouldn't feel guilty, then you wouldn't need to word vomit all of this justification now, would you? I finally feel like I'm no longer resentful for the turmoil Hunter and Tory caused. I am absolutely, without doubt, so grateful for Hunter and Tory. I would live through the Tory-Hunter heartache a million times over if Ridge was always my final result. Behave. No, you wouldn't. Also, remember how Sydney isn't even Ridge's first choice, and how if Maggie... This was all in the end of the first book. If Maggie snapped her fingers, Ridge would go back to her in a heartbeat. But Sydney wants to simp this hard for this man, of which she is the second choice. Behave again. Later on, Sydney gets an email with the new song that Ridge wrote the night before about her. It goes on for pages. I didn't include it. I was in tears, mate. And the whole song is just about how Sydney set Ridge free. It's very subtle. Chapter 2, Maggie. I think about death every minute of every hour of every day of my life. Is she reading this book? Also, me. I can be in the grocery section, and I'll look at the expiration dates on food and wonder which one of us will last longer, me or the mustard. The mustard, that shit lasts. I even look at newborn babies and think of death. Sorry. This all seems incredibly inappropriate, but I've been really through it. I had like the worst month of my life in March. I'm not going to get into it. I'll talk about it like at the end of this year, probably, if my master plan goes into effect. That sounds so ominous. It's meant to sound ominous. No, but I really went through it. What was worse? Going through something traumatizing or reading this? Kind of equal. Like Anubis's scales. It's kind of equal. So this is just making me laugh. Sorry, I have a very morbid sense of humour. Knowing that I'll never live to see a child of my own grow into adulthood has erased any desire to ever have a child. I think this makes her a villain in Coho's eyes. Anyway, Maggie really enjoyed her skydive and it made her feel alive instead of dead. She immediately books again and gets a date with Jake. She finds her bucket list and finds she has only achieved one thing on it, skydiving. One of the bucket list things is to have a one-night stand, so she decides that Jake will do. The last thing I want is another situation where I feel like I'll be a burden to someone. The thought of being someone's irresistible one-night stand has made me way more excited than the prospect of being someone's terminally ill girlfriend. Which is how Ridge made her feel, so, you know, great guy, doesn't deserve to feel any guilt at all. Also, what is this babbling? Get ready for this. I need my tea first. Ridge, mission successful. I smile when I read the text. It's been several months since we ended things, but Ridge and I still text occasionally. As hard as it was to see our relationship come to such an unexpected end, it would be even harder to lose his friendship. Doubt. He and Warren are the only two friends I've had for the past 6 years of my life. I'm grateful that even though our relationship didn't work out, it doesn't mean our friendship can't. And yes, it's weird discussing Sydney with him, but Warren has been keeping me up to date on all things Ridge, even in the areas I don't care to be updated on. In all honesty, I want Ridge to be happy, and as angry as I was when I found out he'd kissed Sydney, I still like the girl. This is some wish fulfillment. Colleen, what did you do, babe? What did you do? Is there a projection here? I still like the girl. It's not like she showed up with evil intentions and tried to steal him from me. She and I actually got along, and I know they both tried to do the right thing. I'm not sure we'll ever get to a point where we will hang out as friends. That would be too weird. But I can be happy that Ridge is happy, and since Warren filled me in on their plan to trick Sydney into going to a bar last night so Ridge could convince her to be with him, I've been curious how it would all turn out. I told Ridge to text me if their plan was successful last night, but I don't think I want the details. How is Sydney now a saint? Who would think like this? Finds out their long-term boyfriend had an emotional affair and then cheated on them. Who would be like, oh, do you know, I actually still really like that girl and I'm grateful and I just want them to be happy. Shut up. Projection. Jake arrives and owns a Tesla, and I'm supposed to be impressed by this somehow. I'm not a car fanatic by any means, but one of my neighbours dates a guy who drives a Tesla, and I'll be lying if I said I wasn't a tad bit obsessed with these cars. So there's no engine at all in these cars? You never have to fill up with gas? He shakes his head. Nope, there's not even oil that needs changing. The only upkeep is the brake and the tyres, really. How do you keep it charged? I have a charger in my garage. You just plug it in at night like you're charging a phone? Obsessed with Tesla, but not enough to know how they charge. They're really good for the environment, he says, apart from when they spontaneously combust. His smile is sweet. Actually, let me make a phone call, he says, pulling out his phone. I might can get us in over at Harris Hill. Does no one even proofread ebooks? Does no one proofread Coho's work? I will do it for you for £1 million a book. He arranges them to go to a race car track. Chapter 3, Ridge. I open my eyes and stare at the ceiling. My first thought is of Sydney. Get a life. Get a life. Ridge is doing nothing but texting people because he's tired. It is thrilling stuff. There's some shit about Game of Thrones and... Okay. Then the stupid pranks continue. There's a block of one of Bridget's fancy cheeses in the drawer. I pull it out and open the packaging. It's some sort of white cheese with fancy pieces of spinach or something in it. Smells like shit, but looks like a bar of soap once the wrapping is removed. I take it to Warren's bathroom, remove his bar of soap from the shower, and replace it with the cheese. What did Bridget do to deserve that? Sydney arrives. God, I love her. I swear, I don't know what I'd have done if she hadn't assigned When last night. I'm sure I'd still be sitting on that stage, playing every sad song I could think of while I drank every last drop of alcohol in the bar. But not only did went through the worst month of my life. Like, you remember when I was complaining about, I don't have a house and like, I don't have anywhere to live at the moment. I wish that was my biggest problem. That's all I'm going to say on it. Stayed sober. So, up yours. Me and life. Stayed sober. Tested. The Lord tested me. Why do I talk like that? I talk like I'm some sort of priest or like a vicar or something. I ain't religious. I'm agnostic. Agnostics are just weak atheists, but atheists are too edgy. Sorry, there's nothing to do with anything. But not only did the worst case scenario not happen, the best case scenario happened. She loved it and she loves me, and here we are, together, about to spend a perfect boring night at my apartment doing nothing but eating takeout and watching television. Except we all know she's his second choice to Maggie, so behave. Maggie, I did. Went skydiving. Skydiving? I hope she's kidding. Skydiving is the last thing she should be doing. That can't be good for her lungs. I start to respond to her, but I pause in the middle of my text. This is the one thing she disliked the most about me. The constant worrying. I have to stop stressing about her doing things that might make her situation worse. It's her life, and she deserves to live it however she wants. Typical Coho man, attempting to control a woman he's not even dated anymore. Also, why would skydiving be bad for your lungs? You're in the sky. It's full of oxygen. Ridge is stupid and anti-science confirmed. She falls back onto her pillow and smiles up at me. I love that she studied sign language for the 3 months we were apart. As mad as I am at Warren for ruining Game of Thrones for me, I'll never be able to repay him for everything he's done to help Sydney and me learn to communicate without so many barriers. He really is a good friend when he isn't being a complete arsehole. Yeah, or being a rapist. They sign and communicate and chat and kiss, etc. She teaches him how to say meow like a cat. They're just quirky like that. Ridge, why is the word meow sometimes used to depict when something is sexy? Does the word make a sexy sound when it's spoken? She laughs and her cheeks blush a little when she says very. I find that interesting. Ridge, is it also sexy when a person barks like a dog? She shakes her head. No, not at all. Meow. 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 That's not sexy. That's not when I do it anyway. Meow. Meow. That's how cats actually sound. Meow. I pull her closer and lean towards her ear. Meow. When I pull back, she's no longer smiling. She's looking at me like that was the sexiest thing she's ever heard. Someone cleanse my eyes with bleach, I beg. Chapter 4, Sydney. We are post-coitus. Sound the alarm. I don't even know how he's still awake. I'd say crack, but we know he's not that interesting. Sydney goes to the kitchen, pantless, Nicholas, and finds Brennan and 2 random dudes there. Then Warren and Bridget appear, arguing as always. Warren swings his attention to me and his eyes immediately light up. I've still not worked out why Warren likes Sydney so much. She gives nothing. I nod. Yeah, sorry, but I sort of don't have any pants on, and if you'd walk over there and stare at the wall with those guys, I'll shut the door and go back to Ridge's room. Warren tilts his head and takes 2 steps towards me and leans to the right like he's trying to look around the refrigerator door. See? Bridget yells from across the room, standing in Warren's now open doorway. This is exactly what I'm talking about, Warren. You flirt with everyone. Their door slams again. Is she wrong, though? No. Sydney gets back to the room, unmolested by Warren. A win is a win, I guess. Fully clothed, Sydney gets introduced to the band properly. I'm hungry, Brennan says, slapping his hands on the bar on either side of him. Anyone eaten? Chinese sounds good, I suggest. Brennan picks up his phone and looks at it. A girl who knows what she wants. I like it. He pulls the phone to his ear. Chinese it is. I'll just order a shit ton of everything. Some of you may not know this, but last year, certain Americans on TikTok got somehow offended that British people, as part of our just slang, colloquialisms, whatever, we say things like, I'm going to order an Indian, I'm having a Chinese, going for a Mexican. We say that. We like to shorten things as much as possible. You know, we used to have a shop called Wilkinson's and then everyone just called it Wilco's, and then they changed their name to Wilco's. Well, not anymore, because a lot of them went into ghosts. They didn't turn into ghosts. A lot of them shut down, RIP. Marks and Spencer's was Marks and Sparks. Now it's just M&S, and they changed their logo to M&S. It's just a thing that we do. What was there another one? Whatever, just listen to English people talk about anything. You'll pick it up, right? Anyway, some Americans, not all of you, the ones who follow this channel, you're fine, but some of them on TikTok got offended somehow by this, like when we say things like, I'm having a Chinese, in terms of ordering takeaway, right? And they said we were being offensive. And one American even said that her lineage was Irish, and it triggered her because the English once ate Irish people. Yeah, I remember when that happened. Hard times. I wish I was joking. Now, whilst the potato famine, I only heard about this because Evangelina told me about it, because we thought the potato famine was, they didn't have any food, so they just had to eat potatoes, because that's kind of what we're told over here. But actually, it's because the English were stealing the Irish's food and were starving them. But whilst the English did do that, we didn't resort to cannibalism and start eating Irish people. And I do find it funny when you've got certain Americans on TikTok who have like 1% Irish in them because they did like a 23andMe and they've never visited Ireland, whatever. But they're talking about it as though like, it's like culturally it's even though you've lived in America or like any chosen country and you've never, it's like, okay, so what? Like your great-great-grandfather might have been Irish. I'm British. So that means I have Welsh, English, Irish, Scottish, and Pakistani ancestry. But I'm not going to pretend I'm part of any other culture other than Southwest English. I'm not going to suddenly be like, the motherland, talking about Scotland, am I? Basically, all of this means that Coho is cancelled for saying Chinese sounds good. I try not to stare at him too hard. I just can't get over how much he looks like Ridge physically, but with a completely different personality. Ridge is responsible and mature, and Brennan seems like he doesn't give a shit about anything. It's like he doesn't have a single care, yet his older brother takes on the burden of caring about every single thing. You really got all of that from him ordering a takeaway. So Bridget and I are fighting, if you didn't notice, Warren says, taking a seat on the couch and scrolling for his texts. He looks up at me. She says I flirt with other people too much. Well, yeah, when he's not busy sexually assaulting Bridget into submission, of course. Maggie went skydiving today. My breath catches at the mention of her name. Naturally, I look over at Ridge, who is leaning against the bar next to Brennan. Brennan covers his phone with his hands and says, good for her. Ridge just sort of nods, expressionless, and says, I know, she told me earlier. Oh, I'm so happy. I don't know, I just feel happy. I'm trying to keep my private life very private, but things have been like the fucking worst. And I'm so happy just like doing this. And I didn't think that I would be. I thought it would be quite difficult to come back to like making fun of stuff. But it's my natural, like my God-given gift is making fun of things. I'm so happy. Why don't I do this more often? Because writing the scripts is grueling. And I'm not some sort of entitled YouTuber. I worked hospitality. 12-hour shifts are a lot more grueling than writing this. Actually, it's debatable because this is mind-numbing. I feel my brain cells, my grey matter shrinking when I do this. Debatable. As someone who's worked plenty of normal jobs, debatable. Do you remember when, like, what's her name? Michaela? The one with the quite exaggerated is it a Boston accent? I'm not sure. Or is she New York? Where is Boston anyway? Is Boston Chicago? I'm going to find out. Massachusetts? What the hell is that? Ooh, 7 hours together from London. Boston. Where is that? Near Salem. Oh my God. Portsmouth, New Hampshire, Manchester. Dover? York? What? Scarborough? How unoriginal. Anyway, what was I talking about? Do you remember when that Michaela girl, when she put up a TikTok being like, I started work at like 9 a.m. and it's 5:30 and I'm still doing TikToks. When you think that life being an influencer is easy, that is easy. Sorry, putting on makeup and being like, tee this is what I think. I'd do a bit of that on my second channel. That is easy. They don't edit it themselves. I don't edit myself. Send that off to people. That is easy. This shit, well harder than, ooh, wow, like over exaggerating how much you love a product. I saw one recently where this girl, she was putting on this rose ink serum, and I like rose ink. It was this foundation serum that they do, right? And she was putting on it and she was being like, oh my God, can you see this? This is unbelievable. Like, she was being so dramatic. Sorry, that is well easy. Me trying to justify why doing 4-hour-long videos is hard work. I'm sure you all believe me. Also, 50 Shades Freed is almost finished, so... And then I've got to do all the Christian ones, and that's like, it's 1,500 more pages of absolute batshit insanity. Anyway, what are we talking about? Ridge just nods, expressionless, and says, I know, she told me earlier. He glances at me for a brief second, then looks down his phone. My mouth feels dry. I press my lips together. There was a moment earlier when I came out the bathroom and saw Ridge holding his phone with a torn expression. I had no idea what had caused him to react like he was. I assumed it was work, but it wasn't work. It was Maggie. He was worried about Maggie. Shut up, Sydney. You won. You got the prize. That is pretentious Ridge. Be quiet. Brennan signs something to Ridge without speaking, and then they start a silent conversation with Warren that's too fast for me to keep up with, which makes me think they don't want me to know what they're saying. That is so rude, but okay. We shouldn't talk about Maggie. That's weird. He looks over at Warren, who brought up the entire conversation. Shut the fuck up, Warren. Warren brushes off Brennan's comment with a flippant wave in my direction. Sydney's cool. She's not a psychotic, jealous girlfriend like some people, he yells towards his bedroom. Sex offender behavior aside, Warren is a disgusting, gaslighting douche bro. I bet he's Colleen Hoover's favourite character. And I totally forgot that in the first book it was revealed that Warren coerced Maggie into losing her virginity to him just so he could pump and dump her, because he dumps her the next day because he didn't want to deal with her chronic illness. He saw it as baggage. Warren is genuinely the worst. Bridget breaks up with Warren. Doubt it will last. We just recorded it last week, Brennan says. I like it. I think it will do well. Price wrote it for his mummy. Price throws a pillow in Brennan's direction. Fuck you, he says. He looks at me and shrugs. I'm a mama's boy. I laugh because he doesn't look like your typical mama's boy. Every coho male is a mama's boy. A text notification goes off on Ridge's phone. I look down at it. Maggie. Guess what? I'm finally riding in a Tesla. Ridge must see the text as soon as I hear it and read it because his legs stop swinging and he stiffens. We're both looking at the phone and I know he's waiting on my reaction, but I don't know how I should react. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be feeling right now. It's just all too weird. I reach over and swipe up on her text. It will disappear. Rude. It's not your phone. And like, this is, I think, the first half of the book. Sydney feeling weird, even though Maggie was the one who got cheated on. I expected that he still talks to Maggie. What I didn't expect was for it to bother me like it is. But it's not because I think Ridge and Maggie are in the wrong. It's because I feel like I'll always be the girl who came between them, no matter how friendly they remain. You were. Actions meet consequences. I can be friendly with every single friend Ridge ever has, but I'm not sure I could ever be friends with Maggie. So the fact he is friends with her makes me feel like a third wheel to that friendship. Oh my God, shut up. You know what I've been doing recently? I've been playing Final Fantasy 16. Good fun. Really gory. Very bloody. I finished all of Alice in Borderlands. Brilliant. I'm going to start doing movie and like TV show reviews on this channel. I'm going to do what I want. Entering my don't give a shit era. Finally been watching the final season of The Walking Dead because I gave up on it years ago, but I'm finally doing that. And I've been reading A Court of Thorn and Roses, the ACOTAR series. I'm on like book 3. I think it's all right. Yeah, it's not like highbrow, incredible writing. In the first book, there were loads of ellipses all over the place, but she cleared that up after the first book. I think it's all right. Some people find it, because I just like typed into Google earlier because I was like buying the third book, and one of the suggestions was, is A Court of Thorn and Roses problematic? And I was kind of like, well, the thing with the fantasy genre is, you know, if you have a race of the superhumans who look down upon humans, it's within the world build for them to treat said humans like shit in it. So it's like, yeah, problematic to like a normal world standard, sure, but at the same time, when I read through it, sure, maybe there's some things, but a lot with fantasy, a lot can be excused when it's fantasy for, because it is fantasy, I suppose. I don't know if I've just become so immune because I'm reading this crap all the time, but I thought it was fine. Like, it's enjoyable. It's an entertaining read, I think. But yeah, I wouldn't call it problematic. Not in the same way that these books are. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, Brennan has a routine, Warren says and signs. Sounds of Cedar isn't a widely known band, but locally, they have a decent following. Quite a few fangirls who come to the meet and greets after the shows. Sometimes after the shows, if Brennan thinks a girl is cute, he'll slip her a note with his hotel information, asking if she wants to chat in private. 5 times out of 10, they show up an hour later at his hotel room door. 10 times out of 10, Brennan corrects. God, he and Ridge are so different. Why is every man a loser in this? They go on about a girl called Sadie, who Brennan calls Satan, who is also a musician. Warren rolls his eyes and continues. Sadie happened to be one of the girls he slipped a note to, but what he didn't realise is that she wasn't at his meet and greet as a fan. She was looking to talk with him about a gig, and what she didn't know is that Brennan slipped someone his number after every show with the intention of hooking up. She thought he slipped her a note because he wanted to chat with her about opening for the band on our upcoming tour. So when she showed up at his hotel room that night, let's just say there was a lot of confusion. Let's just say it took her a few seconds to realise what I assumed she was there for, and it took me more than a few seconds to realise she wasn't there because she wanted me to take off her shirt. Oh no, that poor girl. Brennan makes a face. Poor girl, my ass. I told you she's Satan. She makes Bridget look like an angel. She's evil because she didn't sleep with Brennan. Interesting. And I thought, I bet they get together at the end. I was wrong. Doesn't happen. Doesn't go anywhere at all. The footage is just some random bit of women hating. Just a little splash of misogyny to liven up your day. We're watching the 4th video when the food arrives. We all make our plates and sit around the table. It's the first meal Ridge and I have eaten together as a couple. He's sitting right next to me with his left hand on my thigh. We've eaten a lot of meals at the table together while forcing ourselves to sit as far apart from each other as we possibly could. It feels good to finally be able to touch him, sit so close to him, and not fight everything inside me that was growing. I like this. You heard it here first, folks. Have an affair. It'll end well. Bridget comes out to throw the cheese in from the shower at Warren. Warren sniffs the cheese again and then takes a small bite of it. I cover my mouth with my hand, trying not to gag. Does he not realise that Bridget had to rub that block of cheese on some part of her body before realising it wasn't soap? Bro, they've had sex. I'm sure it's fine. As disgusting as some of them are, I've missed their pranks so much. I squeezed Ridge's leg to let him know that was a clever one. More mediocre men being upheld for fuck all. Every coho male should start a YouTube channel. Instantly 1 million subscribers within the first week. Sydney is about to go home. Ridge, you okay? I nod, but he doesn't look convinced. I don't know how to say, stop having friends, without feeling a little bit like Bridget. Okay, firstly, Bridget wants Warren to stop being a creep. It is not the same thing. Secondly, shut up, you child. And I don't know how to answer him. I don't want to be that jealous girlfriend who takes issue with every single thing, but how can I not be jealous when there's still a part of me that's envious of Maggie? If this is the running theme of the book, I'm going to give myself a lobotomy. Before she leaves, she sees Hunter the ex outside her car window, staring at her like a normal human being, so she drives off without saying anything. She gets home, has a shower, Ridge appears out of nowhere, and they have sex on the sofa. I love you, Sydney. He pauses above me so that I'm focused on his words and nothing else. I love you more than I have ever loved anyone. He was with Maggie for years, and before that he waited an entire year to date her after Warren coerced her. But sure, he loves Sydney more from all of 4 months. Sydney, that was completely unexpected. Ridge, do you prefer your boyfriend to be more predictable? Sydney, I prefer my boyfriend to be you. That's really my own requirement. Good God. Good. It's just mind-numbing. It's just them talking about their feelings for like 400 pages straight. Say what you want about ACOTAR. It's better than this. Why am I like defending that? It's not like I love it. It's just enjoyable. It's just getting me through the days. I shouldn't be vague booking so much. It's not fair. But also, humour is my coping mechanism, so suck it. I prefer my boyfriend to be you. That's really my own requirement. Just be Ridge Lawson and you can date me. Ridge, I'm pretty good at being Ridge Lawson. You're in luck. We are so cheesy. I hate us and love us. Yeah, I hate you guys too. Do you know what I want to be like? I want to do movie reviews and be like Hideo Kojima, because I've decided I prefer nothing. I love Hideo Kojima. It's not because of nothing, actually. My friend is always trying to get me to play Metal Gear Solid, and I refuse to. He tried to explain the plot of it the other day when we were in a car. Having a little, road trip. Beep, beep. What was that? Background noise. Not important. He tried to explain the basic plot, and it took 45 minutes. It was like, you play this game as this snake, and then you find out in the next game, actually, that was a clone the whole time. And it's like, what the hell are you talking about? But Norman Reedus auditioned for The Walking Dead, and they didn't want him to be the character he auditioned for. But I think Robert Kirkland was there for the auditions because he decided he liked Norman Reedus so much that they would create a character for Norman Reedus, and that's why he's Daryl, right? And then Hideo Kojima, years later, watches The Walking Dead because he watches a movie every day. One movie a day. He watched The Walking Dead, and he loved Daryl's character so much that he was like, I'm going to make a game called Death Stranding, and Norman Reedus is going to be the main character. And then he did that. And that is such fan behavior. That is so me. That's so me coded. That's what I'm trying to do. I want to write a screenplay where it's about me and Pedro Pascal and Keanu Reeves, and we're just all hanging out. And then that's the film. And then I get to play me. And then I get to, I've got this idea for a satirical... I've always got ideas that never come to fruition. For a satirical biography of Keanu Reeves. And then we can make it into a film. And then I get to play me as the journalist. And then he can, it's this adventure to find out whether he's immortal or not. No one steal that. That is my idea. I've had it for years. I've never done anything like it with it. Don't you dare. But yeah, Hideo Kojima is just so me. He's a crazy genius as well, just like me. Anyway, yeah, he watches a movie a day and then he puts his little movie reviews on Twitter. And if he really likes a movie, he'll wax lyrical. He was on about the free body problem, which I need to see because he suggested it. He wrote paragraphs. And then but a week before he'd done a tweet about Madam Web, and he said, just saw Madam Web at the cinema. And that's all he said. He didn't say anything bad, but how scathing is that? He didn't need to say anything more than that one sentence. That's very... Love him so much. I don't know what this has got to do with anything. I'm just yapping because I've not been on camera for ages, and I like it and I missed it. Ridge. I like all the versions of you too. Even if the rest of our lives were predictable. I'd never get tired. Oh yeah, so I want to do movie reviews and be like Hideo Kojima. That's... Okay, let's go on. Even if the rest of our lives were predictable, I'd never get tired of you. We could live the same day over and over and I'd just ask for more. Sydney. Like Groundhog Day. I feel the same way. He was it's theorized he was, in the original script, he was trapped in the Groundhog Day for 10,000 years. Sydney and Ridge. You wouldn't want that. And even in the film, in the final, he's, spoiler alert, on his final day, you can see that he's very adept at playing piano. He knows the whole town inside out, and he can make ice sculptures with a chainsaw, and that takes years to... So he was in there for a good, maybe at least 30 years inside the Groundhog Day, doing the same day over and over. Is that what you want, Sydney and Ridge? No, idiots. Ridge, you make a routine something I actually look forward to. If you told me you wanted us to go wash dicks. Some routine. If you told me you wanted us to go wash dishes together right now, I'd get excited. Let's see if you feel the same way after 5 years. Actually, scrap it. After 6 months, after the honeymoon period's over. Sydney, would you look forward to eating the same meal every day? Ridge, I would if I was eating it with you. Sydney, would you be able to drink the same drink every day? Ridge, if I was drinking it with you, I'd still be thirsty for it on my deathbed. Bollocks. Sydney, oh, that's a good line. Keep going. Ridge, if I could hear music, I would listen to the same song over and over and never tire of it as long as I was listening to it with you. I'm tired of it, and it's only been 60 pages. He writes his feelings into lyrics. Same seats on the couch, same drinks when we go out, same smile, same laugh. I'll never get enough of that. Don't even rhyme. Hate it. 0 out of 10. They create a new song together and then love each other. Chapter 5, Maggie. Maggie is on her date with Jake. We've had so much fun tonight. I want to do it again, but I also don't, simply because we had so much fun tonight. I spent the entirety of my adulthood in a relationship. I don't want that again, even if he is too good to be true. Hoover's going to tie her down to the first schmuck she fucks, isn't she? Though, to be honest, Maggie is due at least one decent boyfriend by now. Jake just got out of a 12-year-long relationship himself. I chose to end it, and it was hard, but I'd rather regret ending something good than be what prevents her from finding something great. I stare at him a moment, but I have to break my stare because I'm starting to have that feeling again that I want him to be more than one night stand. Maggie, please, you've just met this man. Spread your legs and fly. This is my new self-help book. He fell in love with another girl, and it wasn't like it was some torrid, scandalous affair. He's a good person, and he would have chosen me in the end, but he would have chosen me for the wrong reasons. Jake looks surprised. He cheated on you? No, he's not a good person, and yes, he did cheat. I hate that word. I find myself shaking my head even though he did. Ridge cheated on me. It makes him sound malicious, which he is not. Well, he didn't trip up and accidentally... He didn't fuck her, but he didn't trip up and accidentally snog her, did he? Cheating is such an ugly term to describe what happened. I think about it for a moment as I stir my straw around my glass. Then I look up at Jake and say, he connected with someone on a deeper level, I think. To call him a cheater feels like an insult he doesn't deserve. This is some projection, babe. To call him a cheater feels like an insult he doesn't deserve. He crossed a line with someone he connected with. We'll just leave it at that. Jesus Christ, what is all this justification and insistence that Ridge is a good person? Hoover, are you okay, babe? Is there something you want to talk to me about? I won't judge you. I will. He's still staring, like he wants to hear more, so I continue. Ridge writes lyrics for a band. And don't we know it? About 2 years ago, the band released a new song, and I'll never forget the first time I heard it. Ridge always sent me the songs ahead of their release, but for some reason, he never sent me this particular song. After I downloaded it and listened to it, I immediately knew why he never sent it. It's because he wrote it about us. A love song? I shake my head. No, it was kind of the opposite. Sort of a falling out of love song about a couple who needed to move on from each other but didn't know how. It wasn't until I heard the song that I realised he felt the same way I did, but neither of us was in a place to admit that to the other at the time. What was the line? I keep on wondering why I can't say bye to you. How is this meant to make me think that Ridge is a good person? What? I nod. I don't know why we waited so long after that to end it. I guess it's like you said. Things between us were good, but I knew he'd found something great in another girl, and he deserved better than just good. Except Sydney is an amoeba, but okay. Jake hasn't been on a date since his breakup, so his ex was his only sexual partner. Maggie tells Jake she doesn't want a relationship, but wants a one-night stand, and Jake is up for it. Chapter 6, Maggie. They have their hookup and shag twice, good for her. I was also full of uncertainty. I've only been with 2 people sexually in my life, and I was in love during both of those relationships. Maggie loved Warren. Poor girl really never has had a decent boyfriend. But Maggie is melancholic the next day that Jake has gone. I can't put myself in another position where someone will become obligated to take care of me. Look how much Ridge has messed with her mind. Good guy, my ass. It's not a good feeling, knowing someone has convinced themselves they're more in love with you than they are simply because you're dependent on them. I'd rather feel melancholic than pathetic. This does nothing to endear me to Ridge Hoover. I grabbed the pillow Jake slept on, the same pillow I was just rubbing and longing. Rubbing how? And throw it off my bed. I'll throw it in the trash later. That is just silly and wasteful. Wash it, you strange woman. Jake is actually still there. He was just cooking breakfast for Maggie. I don't smile. I don't speak. I don't even nod a greeting in return. I stand there and stare at him and wonder how a 29-year-old man could not honestly understand the meaning behind one night stand, night being the key word. There's not supposed to be a morning included in that definition. Babe, he's a co-home man. What do you expect? To be fair to Jake, though, he does immediately say, okay, I'll leave. His shoes are now on his feet and he stands eyeing me. Wishful thinking, I guess. He points to my front door. I'm going to leave now. I nod. It's probably for the best. I just ruined every good thing about last night. Actually, he ruined every good thing about last night. I walked into my living room accepting that I'd never see him again, and he ruined it by assuming I wanted him to stay and cook me breakfast. Don't blame yourself for a man's actions. He gives it a final shot. I sigh. I'll be dead in a few years, Jake. He takes half a step back but doesn't take his eyes off of me. Wow. He brings a hand to his mouth and runs it over his jaw. You're really using that one? It's not an excuse, it's a fact. A fact I'm very aware of, he says. His jaw is hard, and now he's mad. Why are you mad? You're not the one that's dying. Go away. I take a step forward. I'm dying, Jake. dying. What's going to come of this? I don't want ever to get married. I don't want children. I have no desire for another relationship while I eventually become someone's burden. Yes, I like you. Yes, last night was incredible. And that's exactly why you should have left already. Because I have things I want to do. And falling in love and fighting with someone about how I lived the last few years of my life is not something that's ever been on my bucket list. So thank you for last night. And thank you for attempting to cook me breakfast. But I need you to leave. Reasonable. Completely reasonable. For the record, Maggie, I was just making you breakfast. I wasn't proposing. He leaves. I lean against the bar and can't help but pout. Is Jake ending a relationship 12 years too late better or worse than me ending a relationship completely and entirely too early? He's someone I could love if I had the life to love him in. She's been on one date with the guy and thinks that he is someone she could love. Can all coho pro tags just calm down for 1 second, please? Chapter 7, Ridge. He's just going on about Sydney as usual. She just did her midterms, and as a Brit, that means nothing to me, so thank you, Hoover, you American, you. Shit, Warren is rubbing off on me. I don't want her to know I just spoiled season 1 of Game of Thrones. Ridge. Oh, nothing. Talking about The Walking Dead. Sydney stares at her phone for a second, confused. Sydney, I don't remember that from The Walking Dead. She watches The Walking Dead. Great. Now I want to have sex, and I already told her would be lazy tonight. You want to bang just because she watches an incredibly popular show about decomposing dead people? Whatever floats your boat, dude. Ridge gets a package. Knowing Warren, he probably sent me a roll of toilet paper with his face all over it. Right, but then you'd be wiping your ass with his face, so the joke is surely on Warren, not you. Can't Hoover even do pranks right? I look back down at the package and feel bad that she got me a gift. I suck at gifts. Shit, what if she's the type who gives the best gifts? I'm the guy who once bought his 9-year-old brother a hamster for Christmas, but didn't realise it had died in the box. Brennan opened it and cried the entire day. Shut up, no you didn't. The present from Sydney was a glitter bomb. It was a prank. A stupid prank that will never ever come out of the carpet. Not fully anyway. So when these idiots inevitably break up, Ridge will always have a smug, glittery reminder of the moron he used to bang. My God, I'd give anything to be able to hear her voice right now. I spend so much time trying to imagine what her voice and her laughter and her sighs sound like, but there isn't enough imagination in one person to come close to what I know it probably sounds like. That did make me feel feelings, but that's because when I wrote this, I was on my period, so just going to blame it on the hormones. She's an incredible communicator when it comes to her kiss. Her kiss sometimes says more to me than anything she could ever sign or speak. Shut up. I look up and Bridget is walking out the bathroom. She pauses and looks at us lying on the living room floor together, covered in glitter. And then she does the unthinkable. Bridget smiles. I hate how Coho writes Bridget as a monster when she's literally the victim of Warren, but okay. Her phone is next to me on the floor, so when it lights up, I naturally glance at it. I stop tickling her when I see the name and the message that appears on the screen. Hunter. Thank you, Sid. You're the best. Can't believe the plot so far is Ridge and Sydney secretly reading each other's texts and getting mad at what they find. Ridge gets mad and storms off. Ridge, let me know when you're finished chatting with your ex. I'll be in the shower. That is Ridge. He storms off to the shower, but Sydney follows him. Hunter was texting about needing some company forms as he didn't know where he left them, and that was it. Sydney is fuming at Ridge's hypocrisy, but honestly, they're both idiots, so I'm not picking sides here. I'm not being dragged down to anyone's level. Ridge, I was jealous and in the wrong, 100% wrong. Actually, I was so wrong, I think I stretched the limit of 100%. I was 101% wrong. This is so unserious and insincere, not uninsincere, that I would dump him for that. If I got that text from someone and they were like trying to apologize, I would dump them. Ridge, one of my flaws is that I never knew I had a jealous streak until I had you to be jealous over. That is just rude to Maggie, but okay. He did not give a shit about her, did he? Ridge, my flaw is that I'm covered in glitter. I somehow even got it. I pull at the flap of my jeans. Down there, I say. She starts laughing, and I smile because fuck Hunter. I have the absolute best girlfriend that ever was to walk this earth. How? The whiplash they must be getting from these emotional shifts is wild. He makes it up to her with sex, though I wouldn't call sex with Ridge an adequate apology, but hey, that's just me. Chapter 8, Maggie. Maggie's at the hospital and she's fed up with it. Fair enough. She'd gone to Jake's hospital for a checkup, which apparently you can just pick and choose the hospital you want to go to for chronic illness. Like you're picking a shop. No idea. Don't know. Don't have a chronic illness. Not American. Wouldn't know. But on the other hand, I can't stop thinking about him. And when I think about him, I get this empty pit in my stomach that distracts me and makes everything I want out of life seem to pale in comparison to the thought of spending time with him. But the idea of setting ourselves up for emotional investment just makes me sad, since I know it won't end well. So what do? What choice do I make? Avoid him and be sad? It never ends well. We all die anyway, so bang the sexy doctor again. So here I am, faking a need to see a cardiologist just so I can let him know I overreacted. Is this a crazy thing to do? Because I am so numb to the crazy by now. They kiss and decide to see each other again, but Maggie actually faints. Chapter 9, Jake. Jake's point of view, too. What is this? House of Night?
There's something very important I forgot to tell you.
What?
Don't cross the streams.
He better not be sexist like all the other men. Jake has been skydiving since he was a kid and has done it 1,500 times, but even with that much experience, that 500th tandem jump felt like the most terrifying jump I'd ever taken. I've never been nervous to jump out of a plane before then. I'd never worried that my chute wouldn't open. I've never once been concerned for my life until that moment. But because if that particular jump didn't end well, that meant dinner with Maggie was off the table, and I really wanted to take her to dinner. I planned to ask her out the moment I laid eyes on her as I walked into the facility. That day, that is nice and all, but calm down, mate, bit keen. He's worrying about Maggie's faint and worrying about how to react to it to not put Maggie off. He has a phone call from his 11-year-old kid. Dun dun dun. And coho kids are always insufferable, so pray for me. What can I say? He takes after his father, but as much of me as he has in him, he is also very much his mother's child. She stressed over every paper and every homework assignment throughout high school and college. I once had to console her because she was crying over receiving a 99 on a paper when she was aiming for a perfect score. Oh good, the mother is a psycho too. The kid does not stand a chance. You know, I was seconds away from saying, oh, the Maggie and Jake chapters are fine, but Coho has found a way to ruin it. The child's name is Justice. I told Maggie I'd go to her place tonight, but that was before this. I'm almost positive they'll keep her overnight for monitoring. So my Friday night is wide open. Even if it weren't, it would have become wide open just for justice. For justice. I work a lot and I have a lot of hobbies, but that all comes second to him. Everything comes second to him. Congratulations, you put your kid first like every parent should. And a good majority do. Am I meant to be like, wow, oh my god, dad goals because he's parenting? Man gets congratulated for doing the right thing. Shut up, Hoover. Do you know what? No, I'm going to say it. The amount of like crap you see all the time of like people criticizing single mums, being like, children need their dads, and somehow blaming the single mums on that. If the dads are the ones that have run away, somehow that's the mum's fault, that the man has done a bunk. Or the amount of people who just congratulate men for doing the bare fucking minimum when it comes to child rearing. Or whatever. I see it a lot in the media. I see like just dads being congratulated for like fuck all. Anecdotally, I barely know anyone who has a good, solid relationship with their father, man or woman. In fact, most of the men I know don't have good relationships with their dad because their dads are crap. So, just saying. Don't know who I'm fighting there, but anecdotally. The vast majority of people I know, and I know a lot of people, have crap dads. Funny that, isn't it? His own 11-year-old son gives him dating advice. What a loser. Doctor mode, I laugh. Any other advice before I go in there? Take her a Twix bar. A Twix? Justice nods. Yeah, if someone bought me a Twix, I'd want to be friends with them. To be fair, it's not bad advice, Justice. Maybe I was wrong to judge you so quickly. Maggie overheard the convo and knows that Jake has a child now. What's his name? Justice. That's a great name. Bless you for lying. Such charity work. Charity. There's a name for your next protagonist, Hoover. It's a metaphor. I sigh, sliding my thumb over her lips. Don't ask me to leave. Her eyebrows draw apart, and she absolutely looks torn between what she wants and what she knows she needs. Jake, she says. She doesn't follow my name up with anything else. My name lingers in the air, heavy with weariness. Not only do I know I can't change her mind, but I'm not sure I should even try to. As much as I want to see her again, and as much as I want to get to know her better, it's not fair of me to beg. She knows her situation better than anyone. She knows what she's capable of, and she knows what she wants her life to look like. I can't argue all the reasons why she shouldn't push me away, because I'm always positive I'd have the same outlook if our roles were reversed. This is mature. I wonder how long it will last. The mood is thick in the room. It's full of tension and attraction and disappointment. I try to imagine what it would be like to love her, because if spending one night with her can fill a room with this much angst, I can only imagine that this is what the beginning of imagining love would feel like. That is a bit much for someone you've been on a single date with. He keeps telling us that he will walk away, and then he just sits there yapping to her for a few pages, and then he finally leaves. As someone who has craved the feeling of adrenaline my entire life, I haven't always made the smartest decisions. Adrenaline makes you do stupid shit without putting too much thought into your actions. It was stupid of me at 13 to crash my first dirt bike because I wanted to know what it felt like to break a bone. It was stupid of me at 23 to jump backward off a cliff I wasn't familiar with in Cancun, relishing in the buzz of not knowing if there were rocks beneath the surface of the water. Are you okay? Chapter 10, Ridge. Ridge and Sydney are chilling. Ridge gets a voicemail with no transcript, so he has Sydney listen to it instead. Obviously, the voicemail is about Maggie being in hospital. Sydney looks at me, and I'm looking at her, and I have no idea how to handle this situation. I don't want to seem too worried, but there's no way I can find out Maggie is in the hospital and not be worried. But I'm equally concerned about how this is making Sydney feel. The melodrama is unreal. I can tell by the look on Warren's face that he's not finished speaking yet. There's something he hasn't said. Something he said to Maggie that upset Sydney enough for her to walk away. What else? I ask him. She was crying, he says. She sounded scared. She needs our help, but she wouldn't tell me more than that. I told her we're on our way. Maggie wants us there. Maggie never wants us there. She always feels like she's inconveniencing us. Something else must have happened. I cover my mouth with my hand, my thoughts frozen. I turn to walk back towards my bedroom. But Sydney is standing in the doorway with her shoes on and a purse over her shoulder. She's leaving. I'm sorry, she says. I'm not leaving because I'm mad. I just need to process all of this. She waves her hand flippantly around the room, then drops it to her side. She doesn't leave though. She simply stands there, confused. Way to make Maggie's situation all about you, Sydney. Just seeing the pain when she speaks makes her my only focus. I can't leave her like this. I look to Warren. Can you go by yourself? He looks disappointed by my question. You expect me to know what to do? He tosses his hands up in frustration. You can't stop being there for her just because you have a new girlfriend. We're all Maggie has, and you know it. I'm just as frustrated by Warren's answer as I am my own question. Of course I'm not going to stop being there for Maggie, but I don't know how to be there for both her and Sydney right now. I didn't really think ahead when Maggie and I split up. I doubt she thought ahead either. But Warren is right. What kind of person would that make me if I just walked out on the girl who depended solely on me for the past 6 years when it comes to her medical needs? What a hero complex. Hell, I'm still her emergency contact. That shows how much of a support system she has in her life. And I can't send Warren alone. He can't even take care of himself, much less Maggie. I'm the only one who knows her medical needs, her entire medical history. Pretty sure doctors would know that too and be able to tell. Whatever. The medications she takes, the names of all her doctors, what to do in an emergency, how to operate her respiratory equipment at her house. Warren would be lost without me. Okay. Does she not have anyone else? Sydney asks. Parents, siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, friends, a really reliable mailman? Fuck off, Sydney. Sydney looks exasperated. She really has no one else? Wow, Sydney, I'm sorry Maggie's lifelong illness is such an issue for you. Maybe you should have thought about that before getting with her boyfriend. The realization hits me with the weight of 1,000 bricks. If Sydney isn't okay with this, where does that leave us? Will I be able to walk away from Maggie completely knowing she has no one else? Would Sydney actually put me in a position to choose between her happiness and Maggie's health? Wow, what a conundrum. Sydney has a boo-hoo about this as if I'm meant to give a damn. Sydney, if you go, I'm probably going to cry myself to sleep. But she's in the hospital, Ridge, and she's all alone. So if you don't go, she'll probably cry herself to sleep too. This is grade A emotional blackmail. Do the right thing, Ridge. Kill Sydney, help Maggie, kill Warren, then jump off a bridge. This is the only viable solution. Ridge, your tears mean more to me. Sydney. Yeah, well, your tears mean nothing to me. Both of you. Sydney helps Ridge pack. Bridget says, take it from me, Sydney. She says, some men come with heavy baggage, like 5 kids and 3 different baby mamas. But Ridge and Warren's baggage is just an ex-girlfriend they sometimes have slumber parties with. Let them go play with their Barbie. We'll stay here and get drunk and order pizza with Warren's debit card. Ridge's pasta sucked anyway. I keep forgetting that Warren and Maggie dated, but Bridget is pretending that she doesn't care. So I don't know why Sydney has to be so dramatic all the time. It's not like he's just jumping to hang out with an ex. Maggie has a life-threatening condition and he is her primary caregiver. Grow up. She kisses me back, pushing me towards the door. I tell her I love her 3 times before I'm... Oh, God. Before I'm finally able to close the door. As soon as we get to Warren's car, I pull out my phone and text her as we're driving. Ridge. Ready? I love you, 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 I love you. I'm not doing that. It's like 50 times. And then I fucking love you, Sydney. I'm not doing that. The way that I would block him, unblock him, and then block him again, just to drive the message home. Chapter 11, Maggie. I suddenly understood why he seemed so alpha male on the surface. That is such an embarrassing sentence, Maggie, that I'm banning you from profiting off of feminism for 5 hours. No driving a car for you. I reach over to my nightstand and grab my phone. I don't know which of them is driving, so I open up a group text between the 3 of us. Maggie, I really need a Twix. Warren, a Twix like the candy bar? Maggie, yes, and a Dr. Pepper, please. Ridge, Warren, stop texting and driving. Warren, it's cool. I'm invincible. Just stupid, not quirky, but we know Colleen Hoover doesn't take people dying in car crashes seriously, so I don't think I realised how alone I was outside of him while I was dating him. It was when we finally separated that I truly realised he and Warren were all I had. It's part of the reason I agreed they could come tonight. I think the 3 of us need to really sit down and have a heart-to-heart about this entire situation. I don't want Ridge to feel like he's all I have when I do have an emergency, but in reality, he is all I have. And I don't want that to hinder his relationship with Sydney in any way. I mean, I know I have Warren too, but I think Warren needs more care than even I do. As far as I'm concerned, if Sydney cannot deal with this poor girl having no one else in her life with her shortened lifespan, then Sydney should leave. I literally do not care about her. I know Coho meant for this issue to be compelling, the conflict, but it's really not. It'd be more compelling if Ridge and Sydney hadn't started their relationship with an affair. Maybe then I'd be a bit more empathetic. Maggie sneaks out of the hospital to be with Ridge and Warren. I won't bother showing you, but there is a lot of repetition. There's a lot of the Maggie who he's angry that, relieved too, etc. And it's annoying the hell out of me because you know how much I hate repetition. Ridge speaks to Maggie, who has never heard him speak before. And then I get it. Sydney. She's why he's talking now. I suddenly feel envious of them, of her. It makes me wonder what it was about her that made him overcome whatever obstacle it was that had held him back. Why wasn't I enough of a motivator to ever make him want to say things to me out loud? There is genuinely nothing special about Sydney, so this is all very laughable. Anyway, she gets over the jealousy instantly because she's not an insufferable twit like Sydney. Warren glances over at me briefly and then stares back at the road. Mad isn't the right word. She did react, but not like most people would have reacted. He pauses for a moment and then says, "She's good for him, Maggie. She's just good, period. And if this whole situation wasn't so damn weird, I feel like you would really like her. Except Sydney's not good, is she? She's just a bit shit, really." Chapter 12, Sydney. Sydney is being a loser back in the apartment with Bridget. She reaches for the Pine Sol bottle that holds the liquor and then grabs 2 shot glasses. The wine isn't enough. She pours the shots and, as she hands one to me, she says, "That wine isn't strong enough. I get really awkward when people are nice to me. I'm going to need liquor for this." I laugh and take the shot glass from her. We raise them at the same time and I make a toast. Cheers to women who don't need their boyfriends in order to have a good time. No, but they clearly need to substitute their boyfriends with alcohol, don't they? Ridge. Just letting you know that Maggie didn't want to stay at the hospital tonight, so she's talked Warren into helping sneaking her out. I'm taking her home and we'll probably stay there just to make sure she's fine. Are you okay with that? Also, are you having fun with Bridget? I read his text twice. I want to be casual about it, despite my warring emotions, but I'm scared if I'm too casual, he'll run to her anytime she misses him. But if I'm not casual enough, I'll be disappointed in my inability to emphasize with Maggie's situation. What do you mean, I'll be disappointed? You should be disappointed now that you've handled the situation poorly. Holy shit, Bridget is staring at her phone, and based on how she said those 2 words, it can only mean one thing. She opened the pic I just sent. Who is this exemplary specimen of a man that has somehow never been introduced to my life? I laugh. That is Jason Momoa. Bridget brings her phone up to her face and licks her phone screen. Don't say he's an asshole. Don't say he's an asshole. Don't say he's an asshole. Yeah, okay, Jason Momoa is an asshole. Can I get sued for that? Whatever. Source all my friends who have worked with him. So don't come for me, Momoa fans. He has the most amazing PR though. All you ever see is just stuff about, he's a gentleman and he's this on set and he's that and he's la. Speak to some of the people who have actually worked with him who aren't A-list stars themselves. Do you know what's funny? You know who some of my friends really don't like working with? Sacha Baron Cohen. Do you know who's in trouble at the moment for being reportedly an asshole? Sacha Baron Cohen. And I wasn't even going to bring that up, but Coho in this book insists on fanning herself over Jason Momoa, and it's just really annoying. But it's kind of ironic because from what I've heard about him, Sounds like Hoover would like him, if you catch my drift. Ridge, don't worry. I do feel unsettled. I feel a lot of things. I feel guilty because I left you alone. Worried that you're sad. Lonely because I'm here and not with you. If someone texted me like they were trying out bad spoken word poetry, I would block them. In fact, I'd change my number completely. Ridge, better do what she says. No telling what the consequences are. I love you. Good night. I love you. Good night. Sydney, you said that twice. Ridge, I mean it even more than that. Clingier than a sloth, gripping on for dear life on a tree. Bridget and Sydney talk about how Ridge grunts during sex and how sexy it is. But grunts how? Like a pig? That's not that sexy. I still need to finish my pig alien story. Ugh, I know, life just got in the way. I'll do it sometime this year. She shrugs. You shouldn't have made them sound so hot then. She spends the next several minutes looking up images of Jason Momoa. Hoover's dream man, and I cannot be more damning than that. I'm going to get sued. Chapter 13, Ridge. It's the first time I've been to Maggie's house since the night we broke up. It's a little weird, but it could be worse. Warren has always had this magical ability to make sure he's weirder than any situation ever could be. And that's exactly what is happening right now. He just raided Maggie's fridge and refrigerator and is standing in her kitchen, dipping soggy microwaved fish sticks into chocolate pudding. He is an attention-seeking weirdo. He's the type of guy that tells everyone else how random he is. He tries so hard to be quirky that it loops back round to being annoying and pathetic. Ridge is annoyed at Maggie because first he suspects she's not that sick, and then he realises her cystic fibrosis vest is broken and she hasn't had it fixed yet. I'm annoyed that she left the hospital, but now that she's so unappreciative of us being here trying to help her, my anger is starting to build. My girlfriend was crying because I'm so mean. I'm such a mean girl. I am not a girl's girl. I didn't mean that. I like girls. I just wish more girls liked me. All my audience is good. Most of my audience is girls, actually, and that's really nice. My girlfriend was crying because I was leaving her, concerned about us, and now Maggie's scolding, mocking me even though I came. Your girlfriend was crying because she's a wimp, quite frankly. He starts having a go at her for fainting, and then she gets mad. I can tell she's about to yell. When she's really angry at me, she signs and yells. It used to turn me on. Now I would just give anything to be able to yell back at her. Okay, big guy. He's all, you call us crying and scared. And she's like, no, I didn't. I just wanted company. And Warren admits that he exaggerated the message so Ridge would come along. You're not a burden, Maggie, I sign. You're selfish. Oh, if you took care of yourself and monitored your blood sugar and used your vest like you're supposed to and, I don't know, maybe didn't jump out of fucking airplanes, none of us would be even arguing. I've put Sydney in an awkward situation that she wouldn't even be in right now if you'd just take better care of yourself, says the cheater. Maggie rolls her eyes with exaggeration. Poor Sydney. She really is the victim in all of this, isn't she? Gets the man of her dreams and she's healthy. Poor fucking Sydney. I agree. I don't care about Sydney's ugly tears. Maggie leaves to go vomit and only then does Ridge bother having empathy. No matter how frustrated I get, it's nothing compared to what she must go through. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Ridge stays to repair Maggie's vest and gives her treatment and they stop arguing for 5 minutes. Ridge ends up falling asleep on Maggie's bed and Maggie tags him in an Instagram post making fun of his snoring and Sydney sees it and gets upset. And I don't even care. I think that is iconic behaviour from Maggie, to be honest. It's literally like an episode of Gossip Girl or something. I walk to her laundry room and find her casually hanging up a shirt like she didn't just try to sabotage my relationship with Sydney with her petty Instagram post. Ugh, why does he sound like Onision? Ugh. Anyone else getting Onision vibes? I hold up my phone. What's this? A picture of you, she says, matter of fact. I see that. But why? She finishes hanging up the shirt and leans against her washing machine. I also posted a picture of Warren. Why are you so mad? I roll my head and throw my hands up in frustration. I'm confused why she didn't in the first place, and now I'm confused as to why she's acting like it isn't a big deal. She pushes off her washing machine. I didn't realise we had rules to this friendship. I've posted pictures of all of us for 6 years. Are we catering our lives to Sydney now? She tries to walk towards the door, but I step in front of it. Of course he does. He's an asshole. You could show a little respect for our situation. Maggie's eyes narrow. Are you serious right now? Did you really just ask me to show respect to the relationship you're in with the girl you cheated on me with? That is not fair. We're past that now. At least I thought we were. It is not on Ridge to call the shots and decide whether Maggie is past being cheated on, actually. Her jaw hardens. You want to talk fair? How fair is it that you're the one who had an emotional affair, but I'm the one who has to be sensitive about what I post on Instagram? Innit? Maggie needs some new friends, but seeing as coho females aren't allowed real friends as their lives must cater to men, I don't know how that's going to happen. New side project, rewrite these books to make them have the lives you want. Funny you say that, Alexander Pankhurst, my script editor, because I'm so going to write a parody Colleen Hoover book, Walking Dead inspired, not with zombies or anything, but just like, again, no one steal this idea because I'm so doing this. Like a woman and a man are happily together and they're engaged, and then another man comes along and they get into a fight, and the fiance dies, the man dies, and then the woman in a few years' time ends up getting with the bloke and justifies it, being like, everyone makes mistakes, oh, I should move on. You know, like the drink driving book that she did. I want to do that, but just a really extreme situation, and then just it'll be funny, trust me. How is that Walking Dead inspired? Because, spoilers, I was watching season 11 and am I crazy? Yes. But I kind of kept feeling like, Maggie and Negan, just get it over with. Just bang. Just do it one time. Get it all out. I think I'm the only person who thought that. But also Negan's my favourite character, so like I was seriously just being like, get over it already, it's the apocalypse, like everyone does stuff they regret. Ridge, I'm sorry she posted that, Sydney. I'm on my way back to my apartment. Sydney, no hurry. I won't even be at your apartment when you get there. I get a separate text from Bridget. Bridget, dick, you're a dick. Dick. Sydney, and don't bother coming to my apartment. Me and Bridget are having another sleepover. Bridget, no dicks allowed. I close the text to both of them and lean my head against the seat. Drive to Sydney's apartment first. Gotta love how Ridge respects Sydney's wishes. Chapter 14, Maggie. I bury my head in my hands. What is wrong with me? No, don't back down now. You were doing so well. She explains that she doesn't miss Ridge romantically, only his platonic company. Don't know why. But then she thought of his affair and got mad and posted the picture, and honestly, good for her. I'm chaotic neutral. I pull out my phone and delete the picture. Then I open a text to Ridge. Maggie, it's been the shittiest week of my life. Tell Sydney I'm so sorry. I deleted the picture. Sydney doesn't deserve the apology. Maggie does for, the affair. Chapter 15, Sydney. Then we watched Justice League and fast forwarded through all the parts Jason Momoa wasn't in. Is this book sponsored by Momoa? I'm more hurt than angry. I'm sure Ridge will have an excuse. He always does. But what's Maggie's excuse? I know, in a sense, I'm the other woman who came between them. I was the Tory in that situation. But I honestly thought we were all beyond that. How are you going to blame a woman for your man falling asleep in her bed? I mean, Ridge would never tell Sid, it was innocent, let's be real. But Ridge would never tell Sydney that happened. So at least she knows that it happened. Also, you don't get to decide when Maggie is over you being Ridge's affair partner, so fuck off. It really makes you think, doesn't it? It really makes you wonder how long Colleen Hoover had to wait before it all blew over for her. I'm gonna get sued for slander. It's fine. It's funny. It's a joke, Colleen. It's a Christmas joke.
It was a joke, Mark. I was joking. It was a Christmas joke.
I think she might be just as upset as I am because she's brought another bottle of wine with her and now we're drinking again and it's barely 2:00 in the afternoon. Oh, quirky. This is just called day drinking. You won't survive 5 seconds in the UK. Bridget is sitting cross-legged on my bed. She reaches to the floor and grabs her purse, pulling her phone out of it. That's it. I can't take it. I'm commenting on her Instagram post. I tried to pull her phone away. I don't even want her to know I saw it. It'll serve her purpose. Bridget rolls on her stomach to protect her phone from me. That's why I said I'll comment. I'll say something to make her feel as insecure as she's trying to make you feel. I'll tell her she looks healthy. Everyone knows when you tell someone they look healthy, it really means fat. Sydney hasn't done a single thing to earn Bridget's loyalty like this. And also, this is the point of the story where Bridget just turns into because it was always before, oh, she's a bitch. But really, it was just reactions to Warren being awful. So it was all very justified. But this is the point of the story where it's just stupid. They ring Warren, who defends Ridge. I kick my legs on the mattress. Sydney is doing that thing again where she looks like a complete fucking idiot. They drink more as Ridge arrives because that'll fix things. Warren walks in first, then Ridge walks in. I hate how Ridge frantically searches for me. It's a flat. What do you mean frantically? Where does he think she's gone? And then he looks relieved when he sees me. I just want to stay mad at him, but he makes it so hard with those kissable lips and apologetic eyes. I know what I'll do. I just won't look at him. Wow, are you 5? Turning my back on Ridge doesn't do me any good because he walks up behind me and wraps his arms around me, tucking his face into the space between my neck and shoulder. He kisses me softly on the neck and keeps his arms wrapped around me, apologising without words. Nope, that's not an apology then. That's physically forcing you to be near him. Different fucking thing, love. Warren admits he exaggerated about Maggie's phone call. Warren shrugs, placing his hands on his hips. There may not be a resolution yet, but Maggie needed to hear everything Ridge had to say. In fact, I think you'll be proud of him. After last night and everything he said to defend you, there isn't a doubt in my mind that he's 100% aboard the Sydney train. I would like the Sydney train to derail off a cliff. Also, shut up. As if a chronically ill person needs to hear about the emotional equivalent of a high school relationship. Warren and Bridget leave. Sydney, to sum it up, Warren said you were innocent and he was guilty, and Maggie was bitter and it was just a huge clusterfuck of a slumber party. Why is Maggie being painted as the bitter ex when she's literally the one who got cheated on? Also, Ridge knew he wasn't in mad love with her and wasted her time for years of her short life. Can we not, avoid that part? I smile, but Ridge looks so sad. I hate that we're in the position to have to make up after another argument and we haven't even been together a week. A week. Ridge, can I please kiss you? I need to. So bad. I smile a little as I read his text. He must see it because he doesn't even wait for me to look up and answer him. He just rushes towards me and lifts my face and presses his mouth firmly to mine. But as desperate as it is, it's not a sensual kiss. It's just full of need. A need to feel me and know I'm not upset. A need for reassurance. A need for forgiveness. I will give someone a $5 if they can ban Hoover from repetition. Even after I've let him kiss me. Not a great sentence, is it? Let him. Then they have sex. Chapter 16, Ridge. Ridge is yapping about the one time he saw a sunrise over the ocean. It was a feeling of complete and utter awe, like nothing I'd ever experienced. And as I sat there, I realised I was in awe of something that occurs every single day and has occurred every single day since the very first sunrise. I thought to myself, how can something be so magnificent when it isn't even a thing of rarity? Didn't that girl from Heartbones say this exact same thing? Anyway, it's the only time Ridge cried over being deaf because he resented not being able to hear anything in this moment, and he hasn't been back to the ocean since. If he takes Sydney to the ocean to repose instead of, drowning each other, then why I order? Somehow this relates to Maggie looking selfish. It's easy for someone on the outside to look in and think that Maggie is being selfish. I don't think Maggie's being selfish. I don't think she's been selfish the entire series. Okay. I'm going to start doing makeup reviews in the middle of these videos. I'm going to make my lips juicy. This is the NYX Fat Oil in the shade Newsfeed. I don't know. It's a lip oil. Makes them look big and juicy. So what do you think of my skin? How's my skin look? Because I don't like any of my foundations at the moment, so I added moisturiser to one of them and turned it into a tinted moisturiser, if anything, because I don't like having full coverage. Ooh, it smells good. That's later. Ooh, juicy.
We return you now to your regularly scheduled program.
My one bitter day on the beach alone, when I truly felt the weight of my disability, is probably how Maggie feels on a daily basis. Yet those on the outside of her illness would probably look at her pattern of behaviour and say that she's ungrateful, selfish, despicable even. I think you and Sydney are despicable actually, but you know what's funny? If you look at the 5-star reviews of this book series from idiots and children, so idiots then, there's quite a few people that are like, oh, Maggie's just so selfish, not letting Ridge, on the first book, live his life and be with Sydney and blah blah, and it's like, what? She's ill. She didn't do any of that anyway. She wasn't preventing him from doing anything. He was too much of a coward to break up with her. Do we have the same... We don't have the same reading. Comprehension. I don't have speaking comprehension. Ridge regrets how he treated Maggie the day before. Instead, I'd allowed every pent-up negative thought I'd never said spill out all at once. It was truthful, yes, but the delivery was hurtful. There are much better ways to share your truth than to force it on someone so hard it injures them. Maggie's feelings were hurt, her pride was bruised, and while it's easy for me to say that her actions warranted my reaction, it doesn't mean I don't regret that reaction. I think Hoover really wants the audience to think that Maggie is a bitch, but it's not working on me, it's Ridge who I dislike. Anyway, he yaps to Sydney about his feelings or some such crap. I read her message, and I feel the truth dig straight into my bones. Sydney is right. Maggie's illness is the only reason we're still connected. The amount of nothing that this book is about is really testing my patience. Sydney, your heart is my favourite thing about you, Ridge. She really does love the side of me that Maggie never could. She could just be a cannibal who's biding her time. I think that's why it just works with Sydney and me. I finally have someone who is in love with the entirety of me. Science is still trying to figure out what the hell that meant. Sydney, I won't lie though. Sometimes your heart scares me. Ridge, why does it scare you? Sydney, because I worry that Maggie is spiraling downward, and I know you worry about that too. I'm scared your guilt and your worry are going to force you to get back together with her just so you can fix her. I'm pretty sure Maggie isn't interested in your sloppy thirds. Ridge, Sydney, I would never leave you in order to fix her issues. I would be broken without you. Then who would fix me? You would fix you, you dozy bellend. We've all got to fix ourselves. Grow up. I've just seen the annotation next to this next screenshot, and it says, I actually laughed out loud at this. This is the scribblings of an infant. Can't wait. Can't wait. She reads my message and I watch as she reaches a hand up to her laptop screen and runs her thumb over my words. Then she highlights the sentence and copies it. She opens a Word document, I know where this is going, and pastes it below a bunch of other messages. I lean over to get a better view of her computer screen, but she hurries and closes out the Word program. I only got a half-second glance, but I could swear the title of the document said, Things Ridge Says. This is quite possibly the most unhinged thing Colleen Hoover has ever written. So Ridge starts his own Things Sydney Says document. I cannot. They decide to have a date at the diner where they went to in the first book. Great memories. Ridge, Sydney Blake, you have to forgive yourself for falling in love with me. We've shared a lot of chapters that don't need to be torn out of our books simply because there are things in them you don't like. It's part of our story. Every single sentence counts towards our happy ending, good or bad. Sydney reads my text and then slides her phone into her pocket like dinner is solidified thanks to that last text. She signs the next thing she says. Thank you, Ridge. That was beautiful. Bridge, cloud, pimple. Ridge, you said bridge, cloud and pimple. Lol, what were you trying to sign? Sydney, I didn't know how to sign that you were getting so lucky after this date tonight. I laugh and wrap my lips around her. Nope. I laugh and wrap my arms around her, pulling her until her forehead meets my lips. Damn, I cannot get enough of my girl. I also can't get enough of that bridge, cloud, pimple. Reading Coho is taking years off of my life. Coho books should come with the Surgeon General's warning. They go for a date, but Brennan crashes it because he's bored. Me too, Brennan. Me too. You know, he says, those apps you can use to track people's phones, I track yours all the time. What the hell? But you have to set that app up with my phone. Brennan nods. I did like a year ago. I know where you are all the time. That explains a lot. That's weird, Brennan. He leans back in his seat. No, it isn't. You're my brother. Standard Coho male behaviour, isn't it? What's the problem? It's just an issue because he's doing it to another man, I guess. Brennan wants to do some songwriting and Sydney wants to watch. Brennan's begging does nothing to change my mind, but that's only because Sydney's begging already changed it. Besides, the whole time I've been on this date with Sydney, song lyrics have been swirling around in my head. Better to get them out now while I'm feeling it. Ridge is that guy who starts playing guitar at parties, isn't he? They sit on a bench out in public to write the songs. You just wouldn't last 5 seconds in London is all I'm saying. I think back to Sydney's and my conversation from earlier and how she expressed a fear that I would someday take Maggie back. Bro wishes Maggie wanted him back. Why is he trying to act as though girls are fighting to be with him? He is so mid. Anyway, he stares at Sydney and writes lyrics about her, and then I nip off to the loo to vomit. Don't wash my dishes for a week, but I think you're pretty when you speak. Hey, it rhymes. Is that something? Bohemian Rhapsody, who? The song makes Sydney cry. Honestly, same. This sets a very low bar, though. I expect her to be in tears over pretty much everything now. Chapter 17, Sydney. Sydney is parked outside of Ridge's apartment and sees Tori, her ex-best friend who was cheating with her ex-boyfriend. Tori wants them to go for a coffee to talk about Sydney's new boyfriend, presumably so she can try to steal him. Sydney rejects the offer and goes to Ridge's apartment. Ridge is asleep. I turn towards Brennan and he's hugging his guitar, his chin resting on it. I'm really hungry. Do you think you can make me a grilled cheese? I laugh as soon as the question comes out of his mouth, but then I realise he's serious. You're asking me to make you a sandwich? It's been a long day and I don't know how to cook. Ridge always cooks for me when I'm over here. Sorry? I roll my eyes and open the refrigerator to take out the cheese. I can't believe I'm making you a sandwich. I feel like I'm disappointing every female who has ever fought for our equality. Nah. Reading Colleen Hoover disappoints every female who has ever fought for equality. Brennan sings Sydney a song about grilled cheese. Damn, I thought last month traumatized me. Thanks, Coho. Cheddar Swiss provolone, that's where I feel at home. Slap that cheese on some bread. I like it more than getting ahead. Grilled cheese, grilled cheese. Grilled cheese from Sydney. Blake. Not Australia. Hoover has just taken the piss now. This book is not about anything. Sydney tells Brennan that Brennan feels guilty. Just a hunch. But I think you hate that you were born with the ability to hear and Ridge wasn't. So you pretend you need him more than you actually do. Because you loved him. I flip the grilled cheese over. Brennan doesn't respond right away. So I know I have him pegged. They've really not spent enough time together for Sydney to just know this behaviour. Then Bridget comes in and gets Sydney to help her with a bunch of pregnancy tests because she's worried that she was eating pickles when she normally hates them. Pickles. I could go for a pickle right now. Nah. Anyway, she's not pregnant and Warren calls his penis Jimmy Choo because Bridget said it was a rare type of Cuban cigar. What was the point of any of this? It's like when people go, oh, here's a writing prompt. A character gets killed by a shovel. Very famous one in the NaNoWriMo. Like, they know that one. And you know, it's meant to like get you in the mood for writing or brainstorming, whatever. You know, it's meant to start you off so then you can, you know, write some gibberish for a few paragraphs. Then you can get on with your warm up. But it's like Coho just leaves all of that crap in, but it's just meant to be like warm-ups. Like she's coming up with this shit via Mad Libs. Brennan laughs. Please don't break up with him. I think you might be the first thing. That's nice. That's ever made Ridge's life easier. Can everyone just stop bitching about Maggie just for existing? It is not her fault that she's ill. It's Ridge's fault. Sydney stays over and Warren takes her out for breakfast because no one else wanted to go and they sneak into a hotel to have a free continental breakfast. So quirky. Like she really thinks that she's in some sort of indie movie, doesn't she? Less eternal sunshine, more spotless mind. I can't believe this is his idea of treating people to breakfast. This is stealing, I whisper as we walk into the breakfast area. Oh my god, shut up, nerd. Anyway, they talk about Maggie. I remember that night very clearly. I don't need Warren to point it out again. It was when Ridge and I were hugging in the hallway. Warren walked inside his apartment and didn't like what he was seeing because Ridge was dating Maggie at the time. Ridge didn't know Warren was in the apartment, but before Warren walked into his room, he made sure I was aware of his thoughts on our predicament. Warren's exact words were, I'm only going to say this once and I need you to listen. He will never leave her, Sydney. I lean back in my seat, growing defensive like I always do when Warren talks about Ridge's and my relationship. He always seems to take it a step too far, even though I feel like I've been more than accommodating and understanding when it comes to Ridge's friendship with Maggie. You did say that, I agree, but you were wrong because they did break up. Congrats, you were the deciding factor in a relationship breaking up. Do you want a cookie? They broke up, sure, but I didn't tell you they'd never break up. I told you he'd never leave her, and he won't. So maybe instead of trying to convince yourself that you need time to warm up to the idea of her always being a part of his life, you should remind yourself that you already knew that, long before you agreed to start a relationship with him. I stare at him, dumbfounded, as he walks to the trash can. He comes back to the table and reclaims his seat. I forgot what a casual arsehole he can be to everyone. Two things can be true. You're an idiot. And he is a casual arsehole sex offender. A man for all seasons. You know the one thing that could make this entire situation a little easier, Warren asks. I shake my head, unsure about anything anymore. He looks at me pointedly. You. What? Me? How could I make it easier? If you hadn't noticed, I've worked really hard to try and have the patience of a freaking saint. Patience of a saint? Maggie is dying. You loser. Grow up. Also, remember when she literally threw a tantrum and kicked her mattress over this? Not exactly a saint. Not a saintly behaviour, is it? You have been patient. What you haven't been is apologetic. There's a girl you seriously wronged who is a huge part of Ridge's life. And even though she claims to not blame you, you probably still owe her an apology. Apologies shouldn't happen because of the response of the person who was wrong. Apologies should happen because of the wrong. My stomach turns at the thought of being face to face with Maggie after everything that's happened. And even though I don't take any responsibility for all the resentment she and Ridge have been building up towards each other over the years, I do take responsibility for the fact that I was a Tory for a hot minute and never once reached out to her to apologise. Sydney drives to Maggie's to talk to her as if Maggie needs to deal with all of this. Chapter 18, Maggie. Maggie's mother dumped her on her grandparents because she wanted to live in Paris alone and didn't want to deal with Maggie's illness, and then her mother ended up dying of a heart attack anyway. Maggie's grandma also died, and her grandfather is so sick that Maggie can't even see him to say goodbye because she might get sick too. She's become very depressed because of all this and her illness. So I don't want to hear another fucking word from Sydney crying about her life or Maggie. Shut up. Sydney appears. But if any other girlfriend showed up at their boyfriend's ex-girlfriend's house, they wouldn't show up looking this casual, even if it were just to borrow a cup of sugar. Women like making other women jealous. They especially like making the women who have slept with the men they're in love with jealous. Most women would show up in the most flattering outfit with sculpted makeup and perfect hair. Hoover, just because you hate other women doesn't mean the rest of us do. I'm here to apologise to you, she says matter of fact. I narrow my eyes, trying to make sense of this. I spent the night fighting with her boyfriend. Then I post a picture on her Instagram in a moment of selfish stupidity. Yet she says she's here to apologise to me. There must be a catch. Hoover, Sydney and Ridge had an affair. You can't make me demonise Maggie for putting up an Instagram pic of him in her bed. Because that's so chaotic, it's hilarious. Like, I don't care. She blows out a quick breath but holds eye contact. For kissing Ridge when I knew he was dating you. I never apologised to you. It was shitty of me and I'm sorry. I shake my head, still confused why she drove all the way out here for an apology I'm not even in need of. I've never expected an apology from you, Sydney. You weren't the one in a relationship with me. Ridge was. Sydney's mouth twitches a little, like she's relieved I'm not full of rage, but she knows the situation doesn't call for a smile of relief. Even when Sydney says nothing, she's still a dick. Too busy thinking about harvesting Ridge's heart. I appreciate that she recognises as much. It was hard for me to figure out who to be angry at after reading all the messages, I admit. You both seemed to try so hard to do the right thing. But from what Ridge told me about your last relationship, that experience was a lot different from what happened between you and Ridge. Your friend and boyfriend put your feelings last with their affair, but you and Ridge seemed to at least attempt to put my feelings first. Stop trying to poeticize cheating. Her words filled me with even more regret over what happened between Ridge and me this weekend. Because I know he worries. And I feel like it's my fault he still has to worry about me. Not only because I don't take care of myself in all the ways he would like, but because I put this on him to begin with. I allowed a relationship to start up with him, knowing if we didn't work out in the end, a part of him would always stay with me because that's just the type of human he is. He's a fully grown man capable of making his own decisions, so why does Hoover want us to punish Maggie for that? Anyway, Sydney gives a whole speech about how she wouldn't know what it's like to be Maggie, blah, 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 whatever. She finally looks up from her water bottle and I swear there are tears in her eyes. I know I don't know you very well at all, she says, but I do know that Ridge would not be as upset as he is if there weren't a million qualities that he sees in you. I'm hoping one of those qualities is your ability to swallow your pride enough to realise you should apologise to him for making him feel that way after he left your house on Saturday. He deserves at least that much after how hard he's loved you, Maggie. What the fuck? How did he love her so hard when he had an emotional affair and won't stop telling us how much he loves Sydney more than he ever loved Maggie ever? Like, he literally loves everything else more than he's ever loved Maggie. Like, what? And to answer your question from earlier, no, I don't want you out of the picture. This was your picture first, yours and Warren's and Ridge's. But now that I'm a part of it, we all need to figure out how to fit in the frame. This is so corny. It's like the green giant taking a shit. Not me, smug because my script editor wrote there. Well done. I don't understand her. How can one person be this understanding? They can't. Hoover just needs to make Sydney a saint somehow to justify the cheating. Sydney smiles a little. He once fell in love with you too, Maggie. I find it hard to believe he didn't have a million reasons for doing so. I stare at her, wondering if that's actually true. I've always felt like my illness was the reason Ridge fell in love with me. I mean, it's the way Ridge was with Maggie for 6 years, but after officially dating Sydney for a week, he's being all, the love I have for Sydney is a million times what it was for Maggie. Like, did bro actually even love her or what? My God, my mother sure fucked me up. I guess that's expected though. When you have a mother who can't love you, how are you supposed to believe anyone else could? Yes, let's all blame it on the woman, despite Maggie's father never being in the picture at all. Kind of like my earlier point, huh? Anyway, Sydney is right. Ridge deserves a lot more respect than what I've given him. He also deserves the girl sitting across from me right now, because this situation could have taken so many possible roads, but Sydney chose the high one. When a person takes the high road, it encourages those around them to do the same.
I've never taken the high road, but I tell other people to, because then there's more room for me on the low road.
Ah yes, the well-known high road of adultery. It might be a tight and awkward fit at first, but I'm glad she's now in our frame. What a load of bollocks. Chapter 19, Ridge. Ridge is trying to find new inventive ways of pranking Warren because he's quirky like that and also 5. Then Maggie shows up and we get this rubbish. This is the first time she's shown up at my apartment as something other than my girlfriend. I've never opened the door for her and not immediately kissed her. I've never opened the door for her without pulling her to my bedroom. I've no desire to do either of those things, nor do I feel a loss because it's no longer our routine. I just feel different. Okay, and? Sydney is the most reasonable person I've ever met. The same Sydney that stamped like a moron because Bridget annoyed her and was kicking a mattress? What do you mean? Maggie says her grandfather just died. Great. Her grandfather died and she's the one who is going to end up apologising to Ridge. Fuck off. She's here to apologise? Wow. This isn't what I was expecting because she's right. It's very hard for her to apologise. It's one of those things that are so different about Maggie and Sydney. It's difficult getting used to. Sydney is quick to forgive and quick to ask for forgiveness. Sydney only just apologised to Maggie for having an affair with Ridge. The way Hoover wants us to think Sydney is a saint is unreal. Maggie apologises for resenting Ridge. There is absolutely no need to apologise for that. I blow out a quick shaky breath. I need out of this chair. I stand up and walk to the kitchen and grab her napkin and take it back to her, but I can't sit down. I wasn't expecting this. I don't even know how to respond to her. Sometimes I don't say the right things to her and it upsets her. She's already upset enough. I put my hands on the back of my neck and pace the living room a couple of times. That is so melodramatic. Just say thank you and accept the apology you don't deserve, you absolute bizarre freak. Sydney, thanks for letting me know. Be patient with her, Ridge. I'm sure it took a lot of courage for her to show up there. I stare at Sydney's text and shake my head, wondering how in the hell she's more understanding of my own situation than I am. I honestly don't know why she's majoring in music. Her real talent is psychology. Her real talent is sacrificing people's hearts to Quetzalcoatl. He apologises too. So, is Sydney the one? I don't respond for a moment because it's odd. I don't want Maggie thinking she lacked anything, but it's simply different with Sydney. It's more. It's deeper and better, and I crave it like I've never craved anything. Deeper? How? We see inside both of their point of views, and they are both as deep as puddles. I look forward to them breaking up. I wish life came with a handbook, she says. Seeing what you and Sydney have made me realise what an idiot I am for pushing away a really great guy. I'm almost positive I ruined that chance for good. I shift in my seat with those words. I don't even know what to say. Did she think coming here would open up an opportunity to get back together with me? If so, I've been treating this entire conversation as something it isn't. Maggie, we're not ever getting back together. He is such a loser. He thinks that she's talking about him, but really she's talking about Jake. Okay, now I'm confused. You've talked to Sydney? Maggie nods. For some reason, she felt like she owed me an apology. Hoover, are you kidding me? Affairs are bad. Yes, she had something to apologise for. Maggie leaves and Ridge goes to the library to go bother Sydney at work. I spot her in the back corner of the library. She's next to a cart, holding a marker in her hand, crossing out things on the list as she restocks the shelves from her library cart. Her back is to me, so I watch her for an entire minute as she works. It's just describing what a librarian does. Fucking hell, it's boring. I worked as a librarian once actually, so I'm allowed to say that. The place is mostly empty, so I don't feel like anyone will notice that I'm staring at her. What a Looney Tune. Ridge, you and Maggie had a conversation you didn't tell me. I watch her reaction as she reads the text. She freezes, staring down at the phone, and then she rubs her forehead. New game. Romance or horror? She leans against the library shelf and inhales a deep breath. Sydney, yes, I should have told you. I just wanted the two of you to have the chance to speak before I brought it up, but I drove to her house on Sunday. Not to start drama, I swear. I just had some things I needed to say to her. I'm sorry, Ridge. I look back up at her, and everything about her is on edge now. She's worried, rubbing the back of her neck now, refusing to pull her eyes away from her phone until I take a step back. I hold up my phone and snap a picture of her and then text it to her. It takes a moment for the picture to come through on her end, but as soon as it does, she spins round. Our eyes lock. Horror or romance? The call is coming from inside the house. I lift my hands and run my fingers down her cheeks. I try to touch her with the same softness that she uses to touch me. I drag my thumbs over her lips, admiring her mouth and every gentle word that comes out of it. I slide my hands down to her neck and press my thumbs against her throat. I can feel her rapid pulse beneath my fingertips. Sir, this is a library. I keep my hands on her throat and press myself against just casually throttling a librarian. It's totally normal romantic behaviour. I kiss her. I love her. I love her. I kiss her. I kiss her. I am so very in love with her. This is too embarrassing. It's too embarrassing. How am I meant to explain to people that this is a legitimate thing that I do as content and I make money from doing this? It's too embarrassing. I'm just going to start lying to people and say that I'm a writer. And no, you can't look at my books. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to do when I pull away from her mouth. No, it's not. Shut up. Karma might actually know what she's doing after all. Maybe there was a reason so many shitty things had to happen in my life. It wouldn't have been a balanced life if I had had a beautiful childhood, only to grow up and share a life like the one I know I'm going to share with Sydney. I think my childhood was the balance I needed so that I could have her. She is so good and perfect. Maybe I was made to suffer first before earning a reward of this magnitude. Women are not rewards you can earn. Women aren't Tesco club cards. I pull the cap off the marker with my teeth and then press the marker to her chest. I write 4 words directly over her heart. Mine. That is genuinely haunting. Chapter 20, Sydney. My right hand is touching my chest, lightly fingering the word he wrote over my heart Tuesday night. Mine. It's faded now because it's been 4 days since he wrote it, but luckily it was a permanent marker and I've avoided scrubbing it off in the shower. In Coho's perfect world, women get branded like cattle and enjoy it. When he left the library Tuesday night, I immediately had to sit down. He left me so breathless, I almost felt faint. He wasn't even there 5 minutes, and it was the most intense 5 minutes of my life. So much so, I convinced my co-worker to stay the rest of my shift, and then I drove straight to Ridge's apartment to finish what he'd started. Those 5 intense minutes in the library became 2 intense hours in his bed. I hope she gets fired. Also, I want to hear that conversation with the co-worker. Like, sure, yeah, leave work right now to go fuck the weirdo. Oh, you want me to cover your shift for you while you do it? Sure, why not? I'm a disposable NPC that will never be heard from again. Who cares? He told me all about his conversation with Maggie. I hate that her grandfather passed away just hours after I left her apartment on Sunday. It was probably the sacrifice to Quetzalcoatl that Sydney was doing. But knowing she was dealing with all of that, yet still made the time to stop by Ridges and apologise to him, made me appreciate her effort even more. It's actually insane that Maggie was grieving, but Hoover still forced her to apologise to Ridge for no reason. Wow, speaking from experience. Yeah, no, I would not do that. Like, what was it, the day of or like days later? Are you joking? Like, do you know anything, Colleen Hoover? Have you ever experienced anything ever outside of your weird little bubble? The last 4 days with him have been the best 4 days I spent with him since the day we met. In the beginning of getting to know him, every conversation we had was encased in guilt because of Maggie. Then, after his and Maggie's fight last week, every conversation we had was laced with worry because of Maggie. But since Tuesday, every time we're alone, it finally feels like we're actually alone. This sounds exhausting and 100% not worth it from what we've seen. They are all going to Maggie's, including Bridget, even though she's mad at everything. Maggie is moving to Austin. Considering I don't know where any of these characters live, it means nothing to me. Apparently they all live in South Austin. Thank you. They decide that Maggie should live in the same building complex as Ridge and Warren in case of emergencies. Bridget looks up directly at Maggie. She doesn't look happy. She turns her attention towards Warren and leans forward. Shit, Warren, why don't you just move her into one of the spare bedrooms? We can all be one big happy family. Warren rolls his eyes. Bridget, stop. No, think about it. I moved in and you started sleeping with me. Sydney moved in and Ridge started messing around with her. It's only fair that Maggie gets a turn. I close my eyes and drop my head, shaking it. Why did Bridget have to go there? I glance at Maggie and she's shooting daggers at Bridget. I think you forget that I've already been with both of them, Bridget. I actually don't need a turn, but thank you for being considerate. Oh, fuck off, Bridget says. What has Maggie done to deserve any of that? Bridget looks at me like I betrayed her. She waves a hand towards Maggie's bedroom. How can you be okay with this? She's ungrateful and always has been, and now she's moving herself into our complex and twisting it to make it look like your idea. Ungrateful for what? She's dying. If I was in a Colleen Hoover book, I would be grateful for death's swift embrace, to be honest. For a second, I entertain her thoughts, but only for a second. After 2 seconds, I stand up and make my way to Maggie's bedroom. I honestly think Bridget has her pegged wrong. I don't see Ridge loving someone who is that ungrateful and manipulative. I just don't. It's the way that Sydney cannot see Maggie for Maggie outside of Ridge. Because women are just extensions of their men. Like property. Sydney goes to comfort Maggie. We're here because Warren and Ridge are going to be your primary caregivers when you're sick. I think we need to leave Bridget's feelings out of it. And mine. And honestly, even yours. This is about how we can make things easier on Warren and Ridge. And you living in the same complex as them will definitely make things easier on them. Easier on Warren and Ridge. Maggie is the one who is ill and dying young from it. I don't care about the sex offender and Ridge. It's such a fascinating look at Coho's worldview. Basically, men can do no wrong, and if they do, it's probably as a result of the woman in their lives. Maggie laughs, addressing Bridget directly now. Do you really think there's a chance in hell I would ever be romantically interested in Warren again? That's absurd. Bridget rolls onto her back and looks up at the ceiling. I'm not worried about you falling for him. I'm worried about him falling for you. You're really pretty, and Warren is shallow. Maggie and I both look at each other. Then we both start laughing. I shake my head, completely taken aback by Bridget's insecurity. Do you not realise what a knockout you are? Warren could be as shallow as a desert, and he'd still be head over heels for you. Deserts aren't shallow. There's no water in them. That's like saying dead as a rock, when the rock was never alive in the first place. I don't really want to compliment you because you're mean to me, Maggie says to Bridget. But Sydney is right. Have you seen your arse? It looks like two Pringles hugging. Of all the things you could have said. Anyway, I know what you're thinking.
Your butt looks like two Pringles hugging.
No, you don't.
I roll my eyes and stretch my legs out, kicking her playfully in the thigh. Warren loves you. Get over your weird insecurities. You're lucky you have a man who has a heart big enough to want to care for one of his best friends. Maggie nods. It's true. He's a good guy. A really shallow, somewhat conceited, extremely perverted good guy. Warren is literally a rapist. Anyway, complimenting Bridget is enough to undo months of her dislike for Maggie. Convenient. Women are simple creatures in Coho's world. They just need a compliment about their arse, and then all is well. Maggie will get an apartment in the same building, and Bridget invites her to stay the few days until the apartment is ready. Warren scoots his chair back and stands up, then claims the empty chair next to Bridget. He reaches over and grabs her nail file, then tosses it into the living room. He pulls her chair closer to his and kisses her, and Bridget actually lets him for a good 5 seconds. It's both adorable and highly uncomfortable. Okay. Maggie has a list of compromises for Ridge where she will do the things she wants but look after herself better, like going bungee jumping. But Maggie has to go to a cystic fibrosis support group in return. Also, she's taking Sydney with her bungee jumping, hopefully to cut the cord when Sydney jumps. Anyway, they all play happy families and then go home. So much has changed in the past year. The day I turned 22, I thought it was going to be the worst year of my life. I actually kind of feel bad for Sydney because she is so young and she's going to end up tied down with this manipulative chump who deliberately hid the fact he had a girlfriend in the first book, and she's going to end up pregnant by him because that's always what happens. Chapter 21, Ridge. They help move Maggie's stuff in. What if Sydney and Bridget lived together and they decided to move in some dude who they had both dated in the past? Do you think we'd be cool with it? I shrug. I guess it depends on the situation. No, it doesn't, Warren signs. You'd be pissed. You'd hate it. You'd act like a whiny little bitch, just like I would, and then we'd all break up. I don't want to think I'd be like that. More reason to let them know how much we appreciate them. Good God, Warren is right. He's self-aware. It's like a robot becoming sentient. Sydney, at the DQ drive-thru down the road, anyone want a blizzard? Warren, does a one-legged dog swim in a circle? I'll take a Reese's. Then he just goes back to being a loser. Sydney texts them about going to Dairy Queen. I look down the U-Haul in the parking lot and watch Maggie move up the ramp and disappear inside of it. This is one of those weird moments we're going to have to learn to navigate. I need to remind Sydney that Maggie is here and she might want one, but it feels weird to remind Sydney to include her. It's probably not as weird as anything else that's happened in the past 2 weeks of us dating, and part of me struggles with what to say to Maggie and whether I should even offer her ice cream knowing she isn't supposed to have a lot of sugar, but I don't want to be the one to bring up her health right now. I'm trying to keep my distance with the hope that she's stepping up and taking control on her own. That is an insane amount of yapping, my dude. This is why Hoover, via Sydney, thinks Ridge is deep, because he never shuts up. Maggie, I'll take a large diet Dr. Pepper, thanks. I didn't even realise Sydney had included her in the group text, but of course she had. Every time any of this starts to feel awkward, Sydney somehow alleviates that awkwardness before it's even fully able to set in. All of that pontificating was pointless because Sydney the Saint is psychic too. Ridge sees Maggie's bucket list. I pick it up, even though I probably shouldn't. There are 3 out of the 9 things on the list scratched out. Skydive, drive a race car, and have a one-night stand. I know she went skydiving, but when did she race a car? And when did she have a... He's such a loser. Sydney appears with ice cream. She smiles and hands me one of the blizzards. She pulls the spoon out of hers and licks ice cream from it, then closes her mouth over the spoon. I'm aware how eating works, Hoover. Maggie's bucket list. It was on the floor. I set it down on the dresser and grabbed the suitcase. Thank you for the ice cream. I kiss her on the cheek and make my way up the U-Haul. When I turn around to see if she's following me, she isn't. She's picking up the sheet of paper. Do any of these people know what boundaries mean? Chapter 22. Sydney. She reads the list and decides to be grateful for all the stuff she does in her boring life. She goes to talk to Maggie about it and amends some of the list so it's more doable. Short trips instead of international travel, things they can do in Texas instead. It's actually really nice of Sydney, but I can't give her the kudos because I know Hoover just wants Sydney to be a saint, so we can say, oh, cheating is fine as long as you're just nice to them afterwards. It's really annoying. At the top of the list, it reads, things I want to do, maybe one of these days. Maggie scratches out part of the title, so the list reads, things I want to do, maybe now. Every time Hoover puts the title of the book, I feel like Hoover wants us to react like this.
Oh boy, I usually only get this excited when they say the title of a movie in the movie.
I'm telling you, these drug dealers represent a clear and present danger to the United States.
He said it! He said it!
Chapter 23, Maggie. Seeing Ridge and Sydney together makes Maggie think about what her and Jake could be. It's interesting to me, looking back, how wrong Ridge and I were for each other. And it isn't at all because anything is necessarily wrong with us as individuals. We just didn't bring out the best sides of each other. Not like Sydney does with him. I mean, he's sitting on a couch reading to her, and he's doing it because it's his way of perfecting his speaking voice. That's not a side of him I ever brought out, or even encouraged. We had conversations in the past about why he didn't verbalize, but he always shrugged it off and said he didn't like doing it. I never asked for a deeper explanation than that. See? Cheating is fine. Maggie says when she read the messages between Sydney and Ridge, it made her realise how little she and Ridge knew each other in comparison, which sounds like a bunch of crap because they knew each other for 6 years, whereas he and Sydney had been around each other for like a month. But anything to justify an affair. Right, Hoover? I noticed how she pulled away from him a little when she realised I was in the room with them. It bothers me that she felt that she needed to do that. I want her to know that their physical affection is not something they should feel obligated to hide on my account. I actually, in a weird way, like seeing how much they like each other. It gives me even more reassurance that I made the right choice by not allowing Ridge to use my illness as a reason to stay for me. All these people are saints. Maggie offers for all of them to have lunch tomorrow to alleviate any awkwardness, but Sydney wants to do the K thing on Maggie's bucket list. I tilt my head, watching her for a sign that she's just saying that to be polite. Sometimes she seems too nice and too accommodating, to the point that it makes me suspicious. But I get nothing but authenticity. Bollocks. Sydney says she wants to be friends and regrets kissing Ridge when she was with Maggie. I smile at her. You didn't ruin anything by breaking girl code, Sydney. My words make her smile. Bet you don't bring guys around me ever again, though. Sounds like a threat. And I'd completely understand. It's funny because it's true. Maggie opens up about Jake and how she walked away because she didn't want things to end badly. Sydney regards me silently for a moment. If you had the chance, knowing Ridge's and your relationship came to an end, would you take back the 6 years you spent with him? I don't even need a second to answer her. I shake my head. No, of course not. Who are these people? I would 100% take back all of the time I spent on waste men. Like, are you joking? I could have learned fluent Japanese in that same time frame if I won it all back. Sydney encourages Maggie to give Jake another chance. Maggie rings him. It rings twice and then is immediately pushed to a voicemail. He just pushed me through to voicemail. It's a crushing blow, but one I probably deserve. He's a doctor. I'm sure it's not that deep. Like a desert, apparently. I throw my arm over my face and try to come up with all the reasons why Jake isn't worthy of this much regret. I come up with nothing. He is absolutely worthy of my regret. He is literally just some bloke. There's billions of them. You'll be fine. Or maybe not. Short term, yeah, you'll be fine. Long term, no, she's gonna die. Later on, Maggie is hanging out with Warren and Bridget. Warren is still trying to work out what porno Bridget was in because he's a loser. I nod and then give my complete focus back to Toy Blast. I don't even want to think about how much porn Warren feels forced to watch. What a martyr. Brennan shows up. He went to grab dinner, Warren says. Tacos. Nom nom. Jake calls Maggie. Maggie, answer it, Sydney says. I love how she sounds just as nervous as I am. It's actually nice that Maggie has more friends now, I will admit, but it's also so unrealistic. I love how I could deal with that book review I did about the unhoneymooners, 2 months ago, but not Colleen Hoover women being mature. The unhoneymooners, oh yeah, sure, my exes are on this vacation, my new boss is on this vacation. Yeah, I'll accept that. Women being mature, absolutely not. Jake only put her to voicemail because he was in a meeting. Duh, he's a doctor. Jake wants to be with Maggie, so she invites him to the cavern thing that they are going to. I look at Warren, then back at Bridget. Jake is going to spend the day with these two tomorrow. The entire day. What was I thinking? I could deal with incurable illnesses, but I could not deal with 5 minutes of Warren. Chapter 24, Ridge. It's been a good week. Finally. I've stayed at Sydney's the last few nights, and honestly, I don't want to leave. I love sleeping next to her. I love waking up next to her. I love doing absolutely nothing with her. But I also know that this is a very new relationship that already seems to be moving at warp speed. So the last thing we need to do is live together. Why do all Coho characters move at lightning speed? What is the rush, guys? Once we move in together, we'll live together forever. This is a lot. I want to wait until Sydney has experienced life on her own before making that kind of commitment. Literally been together a week. I finish brushing my teeth, then head to the living room. Sydney is on the couch with her computer in her lap. She sees me walk into the room and she makes room for me on the couch next to her like a fluid dance. That was me stabbing myself in the head with a USB, by the way. I know we tell off Tana Mojo for making those types of jokes, but to be fair, Tana Mojo hasn't had to read this, so... And after the month I've had... Can't believe I'm doing this to myself. Like a fluid dance, I sit and she moves, and then we're effortlessly situated in what's become our standard positions on the couch this week. Me in a half-seated, half-lying pose against the arm of the couch, while she lies with her back against my chest and my arm wrapped around her. How do you manage to write an entire paragraph about someone sitting down? Good God, woman. It feels natural, though. And I like it in the evenings when we spend time together like this because she wears headphones and listens to music on her laptop while we chat. I like it when she listens to music. I like watching her feet sway with the music. I like feeling her voice against my chest when she sings along to some of the lyrics. Who the hell cares? There is genuinely no reason for this book to be 400 pages long. Most of it is just useless filler like this, and that is what her editor should have said to her. Sydney, can I ask you a question? Ridge, didn't I tell you once to never propose a question by asking if you can propose a question? Sydney, I just called you a dickhead out loud. She is so real for that. Sydney discovers Ridge has been dabbing on Maggie via his songs for a while. I just experienced a really big wave of hunger. Isn't that funny how whenever I do these long videos, I get really hungry? I don't think it's because I've forgotten to eat. I think like this is a workout for my brain and heart and such stress on my body. It makes me hungry. Like the Flash running really fast in the new version anyway. Which I know Ezra Miller's awful. I watched the new Flash and I found it really funny. I'm not sure if it was meant to be funny though. My sense of humor is broken. Like there's a bit where all these it doesn't matter. I just found it really funny. Anyway, God, I'm so hungry. Sydney, did it make her mad? Ridge, I don't think so. Why? Sydney, the lyrics, specifically the part you wrote that says, 100 reasons for the pain and only one on my mind. When did looking out for you make me go blind? Sydney, I just feel like if she listened to that, she would have understood what you meant by it and might have hurt her feelings. Sometimes I think Sydney understands my lyrics better than I do. Honestly, Ridge is such a piece of shit. I can see why Hoover thinks he's so profound. He's a coward. He couldn't face breaking up with Maggie, so he just slagged her off in song form for years. Deliberately hid that he had a girlfriend from Sydney and then cheated on said girlfriend with Sydney. Still didn't want to break up with Maggie, so it took Maggie dumping him instead. Hate Ridge. Ridge, if Maggie took those lyrics literally, she never made it seem that way. I write very honestly. You know that. But I don't think Maggie knows that. She didn't think everything I wrote was really how I felt, even though it is in some form or another. Sydney, is that going to be an issue going forward with us? Because I'll be dissecting every single word of every lyric, just so you know. I laugh at her comment. Just laughs in her face when she says, I don't trust you. Also, fuck dating musicians like this. I don't know how Tana Mojo does it. Ridge wrote a song inspired by Sydney before they knew each other properly. For a little while, I feel okay. For a little while, I float away. For a little while, I can stay. For a little while, I'm on my way. For a little while, I'll be all right. For a little while, I'll be outside. For a little while, I'll be okay. For a little while, this book makes me want to end it all. Of course, this makes Sydney cry. She also wants to change her degree from music to psychology. Considering what she does barely ever comes up, it hardly matters to the plot, so who cares? Also, it's because, remember, Ridge internally said that she should major in psychology instead? This is Inception levels of control. Sydney, thank you. But I don't know. Starting over just seems so daunting, especially because I'll need to get my master's degree, which means I'll be struggling financially for another 5 years, which will become your issue too, if we ever move in together. I won't have the money to contribute to the bills. It's just a lot to think about. If I stick with my current major, I'll be done in less than a year. If she has less than a year to go, then why not just complete it? Like, it's all going to be the same amount of money, isn't it? I.e. expensive either way. So why not just have 2 degrees? I don't know. I'm not American. I don't understand. Does it mean that if she changes it now, will she have to pay more or less? Or I don't know, but it just seems dark to me. Like, if you have less than a year left on your degree, just do it and have 2 degrees. Be extra qualified. Who knows? Who cares? It just seems like Coho's way of creating a mountain out of a molehill. She slides her laptop off her lap and flips over, climbing up me. She a monkey? She kisses me. Do you want some ice cream? I want dessert. I shake my head. I'll just take a bite of yours. Worst type of person. They eat ice cream and then gob all over each other to taste the ice cream on each other's tongue. She's about to melt, just like her bowl of ice cream. You're a fucking melt, Ridge. And I bet Hoover felt so wild writing that. Chapter 25, Maggie. Maggie is nervous about Jake meeting her friend group, which consists of 2 ex-boyfriends, one of whom is a rapist. Not to be flippant, but it's just true. Bridget swings open the bathroom door that leads to their room. She pauses when she sees me. I pause when I see her. It's always been awkward between us. We've never had to share a bathroom before. So the fact that she's in her barely there underwear takes awkward to a whole new level. For me anyway. She doesn't seem bothered that I'm seeing her nearly nude. Because she walks straight to the toilet and pulls her panties down to pee. She's just as uninhibited as Warren. None of these people understand boundaries. Also, close the door. Maggie, just close the fucking door. Maggie confides to Sydney about her nerves, and Sydney comforts and supports her. So unrealistic, these two are new best friends. I was all over the place with my emotions for months on end, but every time I saw you, you were the epitome of strength. Even the day you found out about me and Ridge, I was so intimidated by your resolve, and maybe a little impressed. But you seem to be forgetting about all of that. Instead, you're focusing on a few bad days you've had. She reaches down and grabs my hand, looking at me with an expression full of sincerity. No one is the best version of themselves all the time, Maggie. But what creates the difference between confidence and insecurity are the moments in our past that we choose to obsess over. You're obsessing over your shittiest moments when you should be obsessing over the better ones. How has Sydney just become this psychologist saint out of nowhere? Do you think that, Hoover watched a Netflix documentary about psychology or something when she was writing this? Do you think that's what it is? Jake arrives. God, he's cute. He's wearing jeans and a navy blue graphic t-shirt with an anatomically correct heart on the front of it. Funny. Is it? Maggie tells Jake about the group dynamic and he's unbothered by it. I have a rebellious streak that I'm really trying to work on. I sometimes spend entire days binge watching Netflix in my underwear. I've lived alone most of my adult life, so I eat ice cream out of the tub and drink straight out the milk carton. I've never wanted children of my own. I kind of want a cat, but I'm too scared of responsibility. I love show tunes and Hallmark Christmas movies, and I absolutely hate Austin traffic. The only thing that is slightly unconventional about this is not wanting biological kids, because Coho usually forces all of her protagonists to get pregnant. But of course, with Maggie's illness, she can't. So note how it's, I don't want children of my own, meaning she would be fine with stepkids. Because God forbid a woman doesn't want kids, full stop. Everything else about that paragraph is so basic, and Coho's trying to act like, oh, she's so crazy and quirky. Oh, she drinks milk out the carton. So? He stands up, pressing a quick kiss to my forehead. You're so pretty. He mutters, almost in passing, as he grabs my hand and walks me to the bedroom door. That one comment completely eviscerates every hesitant, nervous feeling that remained from before he arrived. If he weren't pulling me out of the bedroom right now to go meet everyone, I'd make him wait so I could find a pen and add another line to my bucket list. It would only be 2 words. Jake Griffin. Coho men really do absolutely nothing but get so much in return. Women just want compliments. That's all we want, right? Chapter 26, Jake. When people ask me why I became a doctor, which is quite a common question, I give them the quintessential answer. I want to save lives. I want to make a difference. I like helping people. It's all bullshit. I became a doctor because I love adrenaline. Of course, the other answers are true as well, but the main reason is adrenaline. I love being the difference in a life or death situation. That is literally a messiah complex. I love the rush I get when my skills are put to the test against a rapidly failing organ. I love the satisfaction I get when I win. People aren't a game, Jake. You want to play a doctor game? Play Operation. Not with people, Jake. Jake says he doesn't ever feel competitive against other people, but now he feels he needs to compete against Ridge. Like, okay, macho man. When Maggie mentioned Ridge for the first time on our date, she talked about how he'd met someone else while dating her, which was ultimately what led to their breakup. I don't know the guy, but that was an automatic strike against him in my book. Good. I hope it lasts. I can't imagine many guys being okay with their ex bringing along the new guy. So unless he's some kind of saint, I probably have a good reason to suddenly be on edge. Hoover actually used the word saint, meaning she is completely conscious of trying to rewrite Sydney and Ridge as saints in this book. She knows what she's doing, because I feel like far too many people give Hoover the benefit of the doubt. But if you look at her writing, she's very consistent with how the men are all abusive. And to me, her being cognizant of what she's doing means anytime she writes a man being abusive, like the bloke in November 9 or Warren assaulting Bridget in the last book, to me it just means that Hoover also knows what she's writing there too, which is why I do genuinely dislike her as a writer, and I feel like I know her morals by now, so as a person too. I don't care. Cry if you're offended by that, I don't care. Maggie waves her hand towards her. Jake, this is Sydney. Sydney continues twisting her shoe into the carpet to get on her foot. Once she does, she walks over to me, half hopping as she extends her hand. It's so good to meet you, she says, pulling on the other shoe. Hoover has such a skill set for writing obnoxiously abusive men and terribly annoying women. It's like that bit in Verity where the female main character eats a yogurt and puts a spoon in her mouth and leans against a wall while someone is talking to her. She has such a skill for writing about people I would automatically want to slap. Maggie mentioned Sydney's name to me earlier and that she's Ridge's current girlfriend. I'm not sure how this scenario played out, but Maggie and Sydney seem to get along, which says a lot about them as individuals. And there's something about Sydney that feels genuine. I like her almost immediately. Jesus Christ, watch out, Maggie. Sydney and Jake will be fucking by the next book. Ridge has his back to everyone, so Jake thinks he's being rude, and no one bothers to sign to Ridge that Jake is in the room, so they set him up for failure there. Based on Maggie's passing, almost agitated look as she turns to face them, I can only assume the guy walking towards me is Warren. The gleam in his eyes scream mischief. What man would describe another man like this? I'd probably sub out the word mischief for a word that you can't say on YouTube because I'd get demonetized. That's another word for a vagina. Warren hugs Jake and pats him on the cheek because Warren was born needing a good solid kick in the nuts. Like, if you gave me baby Warren, I would yeet him like an American football. Wow, he says. You really are good looking. He glances at Maggie. Good job, maggot. He looks like Captain America. Jason Momoa and Captain America in one book. Hoover is either a pumpkin spice basic or she was on a superhero movie kick. Warren salutes me. If Warren was a baby, I'd shake him. I'm not apologizing. I said what I said. Finally, though, Warren at least signs to Ridge that Jake is in the room. I always teach justice not to make assumptions about people, yet here I am, being an assumptive asshole. Ridge isn't bothered that I'm here. He didn't know I was here. Literally Sydney's fault for not letting Ridge know, but okay. I no longer harbour the competitive jealous feelings I was attempting to suppress on the way out of Maggie's bedroom. I don't know the history between these people beyond what Maggie has shared, which isn't much, but there doesn't seem to be any ill will between any of them. Well, that was a quick and pointless drama, wasn't it? More mountains out of more molehills. Wait, don't worry. Bridget tells Jake how Warren and Maggie used to date just to stir the pot. Bridget looks at me. And no, none of this is weird at all. Especially right now as we all pretend we're best friends and we spend the whole day doing best friend stuff together. Yay. Why is she even going along with the trip if she's got such an issue with it? Jake's ex-wife, Chrissy, girlfriend, wife, aren't they, rings and wants Jake to take his kid because she got called into work, so he has to leave Maggie's day out. One would think that a man who regularly slices through people's chests wouldn't be bothered by a little vomit. Not the case with me. Anything's to be different. Anyway, we miss Maggie's entire day out just to hear Jake talk about vomit. Like, it would have actually been nice to see bonding and stuff happen in a scene with all of them, but guess not, because who cares, right? Why show scenes of people actually doing stuff when you can show scenes of people just talking about their feelings for the 100th time? He and Maggie make plans to meet up the following week. He talks with Justice. Is Maggie your girlfriend? I shake my head. Nope. But you've had sex with her? The combination of my 11-year-old asking if I've had sex with someone while chewing on a mouthful of ham is both odd and entertaining. What? You mentioned something about not being able to spend the night with her again, which means you spent the night with her before, which probably means you've had sex with her because Cody says that's what adults do when they spend the night with each other. Cody is 11. He isn't always right, so that's a no. How about you teach your annoying kid how to have boundaries in conversations? I laugh. God, I love this kid. Congratulations, you love your child. Bare minimum. Chapter 27, Sydney. Sydney is happy with her life, unfortunately. It goes to show that a person really doesn't need much if they're surrounded by the right people, loved by the right people. If that's what you think, Colleen Hoover, then send me your entire $20 million net worth. My PayPal link is in the description. Accept the challenge, Coho. If you don't, you're a coward. Get it? Sydney, you coming over tonight? Ridge, do you want me to? Sydney, I always want you to. I insert my key into the lock and open my apartment door. I'm staring down at my phone as I walk inside, waiting for Ridge to text me back when someone grabs me from behind. I scream, but realize almost immediately that it's Ridge just by the feel of his arms wrapped around me. I spin in his arms, he's smiling down at me. Firstly, creep. Secondly, how did he get in? Does he have a key to her place after a week of dating? Did I say all of those words in the correct way? Because I just heard them back in my head and I swear I wasn't speaking properly. It sounded like an alien language then. It sounded like all my vowels were mixed up. Am I okay? I don't think so. I think I'm hungry. Anyway, what? I smile on my way to the bedroom. He knows me too well. He knows that no matter what time of day it is, as soon as I walk through the door, I like to be comfortable. That means getting rid of my bra the minute I get home. Wow, so different from many, many other women. It means getting out my jeans and putting on a pair of pajama pants and one of his t-shirts. It means pulling up my hair in a knot. Why is Hoover always repeating herself? They plan to meet Sydney's parents. Did you tell them I'm deaf? I didn't tell them, but for no other reason than it just didn't come up, and I honestly didn't think about it. Should I have? Absolutely bollocks. Absolutely bollocks. This is so I don't see colour, only people of Hoover. What a load of rubbish. Imagine Sydney doesn't tell her parents and then they think that Ridge is rude because he doesn't hear them speak, like what happened with Jake earlier. It's idiotic. As if it wouldn't come up. Of course it would come up. It only wouldn't come up if you don't just don't talk to your parents, I suppose. Then why would you go meet them for a lunch to meet your boyfriend if you don't talk? So whatever. Stupid. Ridge gets Sydney a gift of a keyboard. So they write a song together. This is killing me. Death would be a release next to this travesty. I can't wait to see how shit this song is. Even if our clothes are fading, they'll always look new on you. Even when the times are changing, nothing's going to change my view on you. You know we got a love worth saving. I should have waited. I would choose oblivion over this existence. I'm going full Soul Reaver. As soon as I see the lines, even if our clothes are fading, they'll always look new on you, I smile. Last week, we were having a conversation about my possibly changing degree paths. I still don't know what I want to do, but he is supportive of whatever I decided, even if it means we'll struggle financially a little longer. He said those words to me, that clothes would look new on me, even if they're faded, and I told him he better put it in a song. It's almost as if he's been waiting for this moment and already had those lyrics prepared. It's incredible how seamlessly we work together. I know. I was there for that scene. Why are you telling me this? Anyway, Sydney is so happy with the song that she starts dancing, and it's honestly making me ill. She then teaches Ridge to dance along with it. Chapter 28, Ridge. It's like fan fiction, isn't it? She's just written fan fiction of it. Fine, whatever. They go to Ridge's apartment and are greeted by Warren's pale, pasty ass as he plows into Bridget on the sofa. Great, I don't care. Then Sydney finds an engagement ring in Ridge's sock drawer. Really? Chapter 29. Maggie. Maggie is waiting for Jake at his, but he's in emergency surgery. So, in an attempt to make hanging out for 7 hours in the home of a guy I'm not officially dating a little less strange, I've kept myself busy. Why aren't they dating? Is it just to be quirky? He's met her friends, for God's sake. I think I underestimated Jake's honesty when he said he was a messy person, because even after a trip to the store for cleaning supplies and hours of straight work, this place still isn't spotless. I've done 4 loads of laundry, 2 loads of dishes. I wouldn't even do this for my house, sorry. Made his bed for what I'm sure is the first time ever. I don't do this. Ask my boyfriend. I would not. Scrubbed both bathrooms and now I'm prepping dinner. Why is she doing his housework? She's become a domesticated housewife overnight. So much for wanting independence, and also, like, they're not even officially dating. And she's doing all of this for him. Barefoot pregnant in the kitchen, much? Jake walks up behind me and wraps his arms around me. I lean into him, missing the way he feels and smells. He lowers his mouth to my ear. If you were my maid, I could pay you in orgasms. In this economy, that's as useful as working for free exposure. Anyway, he gives her an orgasm before the pizza is even cooked, so good for her. Chapter 30, Sydney. It's not what you think, Ridge says. I lift my gaze and drop my hand from my mouth. I think it's an engagement ring, is it not? Ridge shakes his head as he walks over to me. No, yes. I mean, it is, but it isn't. It's an engagement ring, but it isn't yours. He never proposed to Maggie, though, luckily, and Sydney is actually relieved that it's not for her because they haven't been dating long enough. Mature. All the tension in his neck and jaw eases in my response. Oh, thank God, he says, running a hand down his face, but then he quickly tries to recover. Not that I don't want to propose to you, just, yeah, someday. He sits down next to me on the bed and I bump him on my shoulder and grin at him. Maybe someday, he smiles back. Maybe someday. Maybe now? I'm part of the problem, aren't I? So the ring was actually Maggie's grandmother's that her granddad gave to Ridge, but he never bothered to give it back to her since the breakup, which rude and stealing. Ridge, it's been in my closet for 3 years. I moved it to the sock drawer 2 weeks ago to remind myself to give it to her. Sydney, you've had it for 3 years and never proposed. What was stopping you? Ridge shrugs, then says, it never felt right. Get a life. I actually blame Hoover for the sheer increase I've seen in social media of young women going, if he doesn't want to propose to you after 6 months, then you'll be a girlfriend forever, without caring to consider us, that some of us don't give a single shit about marriage or weddings or planning stuff or the government being up in our business. Which kind of sounds like something somebody with something to hide would say, but I just don't want the government in my business. I don't give a single shit about that stuff. I'm fed up with people saying that crap. I'm like, it's so annoying. I've never dreamt of, oh, my wedding day and what it'd be like ever. It's never been something like, and I'm not even saying that just to like seem different. I just don't care. Planning a party for a bunch of arseholes, my friends and family, I don't care. Also, my demands are so unrealistic, so it just doesn't happen. Like, if I ever got married, so my Chemical Romance would have to, you know, be playing all the music, and Keanu Reeves would have to walk me down the aisle. And whilst my dad just sits there like, he gets it. He understands. And Corrupt FM would also have to be there to also be a mix like Michael Romance and Corrupt FM. Never going to happen. Oh no, I'd have to be a millionaire first so I could afford all of this. So no interest otherwise. No interest. You know, Friends, when Monica pulls out like this wedding binder and it's full of like, oh, these flowers that go with these cutleries and stuff. Never cared. Anyway, I'll give it back to her tomorrow. He reaches for it, but I pull it away from him. No, I say, I think you should wait. Wait? Why? Sydney, I think this ring would mean a lot to Maggie, and I know it's still new between them, but I think Jake means a lot to her too. Maybe you should wait and see how things go with the two of them. If they fall in love, I think you should give the ring to Jake, not Maggie. It is not your place, you inconceivably weird shit. It's Maggie's ring, not Jake. It's a family. They go on a date. Chapter 31, Jake. Maggie stays over and Jake makes her breakfast so that she doesn't run away from this time. I'm still so embarrassed that she cleaned my house yesterday. Good, you should be. Leave in the morning, I say. She laughs and shakes her head. Jake, I can't. There has to be some rule that says you can't stay 2 nights in a row with someone you aren't even officially dating. Then let's make it official. Be my girlfriend. Spend the night. Hoover, you know, you can date and date exclusively without being boyfriend-girlfriend yet. Like, how out of touch with the youth are you? She raises an eyebrow like maybe I'm about to freak her out again. I can see her guard going up. I wrap my hand around her wrist and pull her back to me. Of course he does. Anyway, they become boyfriend-girlfriend, have lots of sex. Then Justice and his friend come round and meet Maggie. Dude, Cody says to Justice, your new stepmom is hot. He's 11. Maggie smiles at them. Hi, I'm not anyone's stepmom. Even better, Cody says. What a little freak. Anyway, Justice likes Maggie because she likes Signs and M. Night Shyamalan. That's literally all. To be fair, Signs is a decent film. Chapter 32. 3 months later, Sydney. I've been trying to get Bridget to warm up to Maggie since Maggie moved into their complex several months ago. As it stands, Bridget is still pretty cold. She's sitting on Maggie's bed, while I help Maggie pick out an outfit for tonight, so we're making progress. She hasn't been over since Maggie moved in, other than one time Maggie had to stay a few nights in the hospital for an illness. Bridget came to get some clothes for her, but only because Warren made her. Bridget should grow up. Sydney, just ask about her graduation. Ask her about when we went bungee jumping. Ask her how she and Jake are doing. Lots of potential conversation starters if you just try. I like how we missed out on anything interesting happening in the book. We even missed out on Maggie's cave trip because Hoover realised she'd have to write a compelling group activity scene and obviously didn't feel up for the task. I get it. I'm lazy too. That's why I always talk about writing and don't do it. Bridget, I am making effort. I'm here. Besides, I don't have any questions for her. What would I even say? I don't know how to do fake. So, Maggie, how are you and Jake doing? Well, I hope. She forces a smile, but sounds like a stiff robot. That is kind of funny. Maybe this was a bad idea. I glance over at Maggie, and she's just standing there, staring at Bridget with her head tilted. I glance back at Bridget and shake my head. Wow, you really don't know how to talk to people. Bridget throws her hands up and says, I told you. Maggie looks at me. Did you make her ask me that? I shrug. I'm just trying to teach her how to interact with humans in a normal way. I'm just going to say it. This characterization doesn't make sense considering she is a waitress. Her livelihood depends on doing boring and annoying small talk and forcing enthusiasm or being fake. And this clearly clashes if she doesn't have a clue how to have a normal conversation IRL. It's unbelievable. I really think Hoover made her a Hooters waitress just so she could make those like slut-shaming comments in the first book. And her being grouchy because she hates her job makes complete sense because having to do the small talk and put up with obnoxious men like flirting with you, like I get it, done it, you know, whatever. But turning her into this completely socially inept and situationally unaware robot is just too far for me. She's become a caricature, like a 7th season sitcom character, like Monica in Friends. But is he good in bed? Bridget asks. I see a pattern here. The only conversations that come naturally to Bridget always have to do with sex. Does Ridge moan during sex? Is Jake good in bed? I feel like an accomplished writer could actually link this hypersexualization of Bridget to her childhood sexual trauma effectively. But alas. Who is better? Bridget asks. Ridge or Jake or Warren? Wow, you slept with all 3 of our boyfriends. I slap my hand to my forehead. She's a lost cause. That is funny. Luckily, Maggie just laughs off. Yeah, Bridget, let's just not do the whole conversation thing, okay? Bridget pouts. But I actually want to know the answer to this question. I bet it was Warren. Again, Warren is a rapist. But alas. Anyway, Ridge's band is doing a gig tonight and the whole gang is there. As soon as she realizes he's actually here and she's not seeing things, she lights up all over and runs at him. She jumps on him and wraps herself around him like a spider monkey. Her feet locked around his back, her wrists locked behind his neck. He's holding her with little effort, and it makes me envious that I can't jump on Ridge like that. I mean, I guess I could, but I'm not as tiny as Maggie. Maggie is underweight from being chronically ill, so, like, why the random neurosis that has come out of nowhere 3 books later? Ridge has given Jake Maggie's ring. After what, 3 months? That's the beauty of love, isn't it? It comes in so many different forms, shapes, sizes, textures. And it's ever changing. Like the love Ridge held for Maggie, it's still there. It's just a different form. And that's what I love the most about him. He never stopped loving her. He never stopped caring for her. This is just fantasy production, isn't it? this doesn't happen in the real world, babes. If you cheat, there's consequences. And now that she's one of my closest friends, I can't help but love that for her, because she deserves it. She deserved his love and then as his girlfriend, and she deserves his love now as one of his best friends. Ridge moves closer behind me and wraps his arms around me, lifting one hand to my chest. He rests his palm at the base of my throat and presses his head to the side of mine. He wants to hear the concert through me, so I start singing along to the music. I don't realize it until halfway through the song, but I'm crying. I'll get to it. I don't even know why. I just love him so much. I love being here with him. I love his friends. I just love. I'm in tears, pal. I'm in tears. I'm going to say it. Why not? We're like, 3 hours deep into this video. We know each other on some level. I'm just going to say it. I've never cried so much in the past month, ever, in my life. Like in one period of time, 1 week of just constant. I got dehydrated. I genuinely got dehydrated from crying so much. I will never, and I wonder if like maybe it's just a different experience for some people, but I will never understand this fucking cliche of I didn't realize I was crying until like, you know, the tears rolled down my cheeks or until something, whatever. Because for me, it's like every time I cry, my vision goes blurry and my eyes are like not stinging, but like I can feel that I'm crying. I've never cried and not felt it or really just realized it until like my cheeks felt wet or whatever. So like maybe do people to cry differently? Are there some people who like can cry and not realize it until like the teardrops fall or whatever, like romantic shit, poeticized shit? Like I really don't understand that cliche, but it comes up in all of these books, all of them. Is it me? Am I the one that's weird? Chapter 33, Ridge. Ridge gets on stage to perform a song he wrote for Sydney. I've had enough. Then Sydney gets on stage and performs the Maybe Someday song, but has rewritten it and signs it all for Ridge instead of singing. When I tell you that the lyrics all go on for pages, I am just sparing you them. They all go out for dinner. We aren't getting married, Maggie says. We've only known each other for a few months. Statistically speaking, the less time you date someone before you marry them, the greater your chances of it ending in divorce. How does Hoover know that? And yet still insists on marrying all of her characters off so quickly. She's like Jordan Peterson, who famously said that you shouldn't live with someone before you marry them because when you're married, you're forced to just like get through your problems instead of, I don't know, learning how to communicate healthily before making a lifelong commitment that either ends in a till death do us part or a hefty divorce bill. Some psychiatrist. I reckon Colleen Hoover watches Jordan Peterson. Like currently. Not when it was still kind of okay to. Like when I used to. It's okay because I admit it. Therefore, I absolve myself of all guilt. Anyway, Jake proposes to Maggie and she accepts. And then Warren proposes to Bridget and she accepts. And then Ridge proposes and Sydney accepts. And I just cannot. And then they all decide to go to Vegas to get married immediately. What the fuck? Epilogue, Sydney. Dear baby Lawson, you're due in 27 days and I can't begin to tell you how excited your daddy and I are to meet you. It's 4 years later, so she's what, 26? Quick maths.
2 + 2 is 4. -1, that's 3. Quick maths.
Okay. And Warren finally got to find out what porno Bridget was in, so all's well that ends well. You and I are very lucky to be loved by a man with a heart like his. Even when speaking to her unborn child, she's still just blathering on about a bloke. But just be warned, the people in your life love to play thanks to each other. But I'm getting really good at it. The baby's going to get dropped out the window for a prank, isn't it? We can but hope, for the baby's sake. Whether you're a boy or girl, or someday decide to identify as neither, we are more than ready to support and love you unconditionally, forever. Progressive coho? Can't believe it. That's it, by the way. That's it. The end. They all got shotgun wedding together, and in true coho fashion, we see none of it. A scene that would have actually been interesting. We see none of it. Acknowledgements. I miss them already. This series holds a huge place in my heart. I'm not sure I would feel that way if it weren't for you, the readers, especially those of you who followed along as I was writing this on Wattpad. She was actually a Wattpad writer. That is brilliant. That's just brilliant. It's just fitting. It's just so fitting. This book was written in real time, uploaded chapter by chapter, so I wanted to preserve the feel of that and not send it through heavy rounds of rewrites and editing. Fucking explains a lot, doesn't it? Lazy writing. Hilarious though. That is the end of this. God, I hope she doesn't do another bloody book in this series. That is the end of today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I've decided that I'm going to go through every single Colleen Hoover book before I retire from YouTube at some point. I'm going to go through every one. She's going to try and sue me for slander and libel. I can't wait. Good luck, Colleen Hoover. Thank you so much for watching, for listening. If you enjoyed me, I'm sure that you like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to be putting up videos every week from now on, maybe even twice a week, because I'm going to start. I'm going to do weekly movie reviews, and it won't be stuff that's negative. It'll be stuff that's positive. Like, oh, I really enjoyed Alice in Borderlands. So I might do a video about that, because I feel like I want to be talking about things I actually did enjoy, even though positivity gets you absolutely nowhere on YouTube. But everyone likes to be like, oh, why are people so negative all the time? And yet negativity is the thing that gets views more often than not. But I don't care about that anymore. Whatever. I'm going to do weekly movie reviews. I'm going to be like Hideo Kojima. So there. I got through 94 pages of me babbling and waffling. How long have I been? 3 hours of talking non-stop. God, I impressed myself. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. If you'd like behind the scenes stuff and other little bits or whatever, I do memberships on my channel now, so check that out if you're interested. Don't worry if you're not. And follow me on Instagram. I'm not really using, so I'm kind of off social media at the moment. My brain can't really take it. I'll tell you about it later. But follow me on Instagram anyway, just because it makes me look good. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.